Part 39. Participating in a love show, this little guy is too down to earth. Author, Buletin Shi Swan Shi Shui Xian. Chapter 386. Xilan's small yard in Dali is not far from Erhai Lake. It is probably not far from Yongzi village, where Gu Huiyan and the others recorded Crystal Love Season and Go to Where the Wind Is. Gu Huiyan even saw Yongzi village when he went there. He had played basketball many times on the basketball court in Zikan. It is worth mentioning that on the way there, they passed by a rice field, which was quite large and beautiful. It happened to be afternoon at that time, and the sun hadn't set yet. The blazing sunlight was carrying strong ultraviolet rays and was surrounding Xilan, who couldn't help but put on a pair of purple sunglasses. My sister has a very classy face. She wore full makeup today because she was participating in an event. Her dress is an irregular black and white spliced long dress. She looks very well proportioned and has a beautiful figure. The car was not driving very fast. Xilan lowered the window and let the wind blow in. She lifted up her long black hair. The wind carried her body and hair fragrance, and filled the whole car with fragrance. Even though it's winter, it's not as cold here in Yunnan as in Beijing. The sun hasn't set yet, even if the car windows are open, they won't be very cold. It was dark in the car, but from Gu Huiyan's co-pilot's perspective, Xilan seemed to be glowing, and she felt that her sister was really and sassy. So powerful. But if I have to say that, I don't think so. In fact, Gu Huiyan really didn't dare to think about it. Although Gu Huiyan knew very well that as long as he wanted, Sister Xilan would be willing to give him everything he wanted anytime, anywhere. But that's not very realistic. His relationship with Pei Jingshu is quite stable now, and his life is pretty good. He actually doesn't want to experience the big storm last year again, because it's not good for anyone. Shang Zuoyan has left, and Gu Huiyan doesn't want Xilan to leave too. It's nice to have dinner with her sister occasionally. Then some people will wonder, if you are not interested in Xilan, why are you coming to the house with her? Nonsense. Xilan has invited you many times. It's just like when you go to a place and a local friend invites you to stay at his house for a few days. You have been invited many times and it's hard to refuse the hospitality. Can you not go and stay for a while? There is nothing wrong with either emotion or reason. Gu Huiyan knew this, and Xilan also knew it. They both knew it tacitly, so no matter whether they were chatting or anything, there was nothing excessive between them. Even if he is photographed, it doesn't matter. Who in the industry doesn't know that Xilan regards Gu Huiyan as a younger brother, and who doesn't know that the two of them have a good relationship? Sometimes Gu Huiyan is glad that there is an age difference between him and Xilan. It would actually be good if he could have this kind of relationship with Shang Zuoyan. The small courtyard that Xilan bought is not in the village, but in a relatively hidden and private place. There is no way. If Xilan is to choose, Xilan will definitely be willing to live in the village, but it is a pity that she is a public figure, a star, and a movie queen. So if she lives in a very public village, if she is exposed and spreads, people will probably squat on her often. There are a lot of tourists here. If someone comes specifically to check in where she lives, she will be very distressed. Even though she was not in the village, there were still some neighbors nearby. After walking around a group of houses with white walls and black tiles, Xilan parked the car in an open space, got out of the car, picked up her things and walked inside with Gu Huiyan. It feels like we are going to record a show. On the way, Gu Huiyan said with a wry smile. Xilan was amused. Yes, a movie queen, a king, and two first-line stars were each walking on the country road carrying their own luggage. As long as there was a camera teacher next to them and they had microphones attached to them, it would be like there is no difference when recording a show. Let me do it. Gu Huiyan was quite a gentleman. He basically carried two large suitcases and a bag by himself, while Xilan only carried her own bag and some fruits bought on the road. The home has a wooden door with last year's spring festival couplets stuck on it that they didn't have time to take off. It's worth mentioning that the courtyard door was open when they arrived. At that time, Gu Huiyan looked at Xylan strangely and thought, is there anyone at home? Is there a thief? Or are there other guests? Or maybe Xylan doesn't live in the house herself. Or is there her family in it? Gu Huiyan remembered that Xylan once said that she would occasionally bring her family to stay. At that time, Gu Huiyan was still a little nervous. After entering the door, he saw a middle-aged woman wearing local ethnic costumes playing with something in the flower field in the yard. The woman's appearance is not bad, her facial features are fairly regular, her skin is still fair even under such strong ultraviolet radiation in Yunnan, her temples are a little white, but she looks in good spirits, her eyes are quite bright, and her movements are quite nimble. Doesn't look like a caregiver who works regularly. And Hua. After Xylan entered, she called the woman. The woman was quite surprised to see Xylan. She put down the shower and said enthusiastically, "Hey, you're back. You've been gone for months. It's a pity that no one has taken care of these flowers. Look at that one, it's almost dried to death." Xylan helplessly flipped her hair and said with a smile, Yes, I need to trouble you more. Come and see me when you have nothing to do." And Hua talked a lot and complained to Xylan about how difficult it was to take care of the flowers and green vegetables over there. Gu Huiyan was a little surprised when she heard that. Although this aunt doesn't look like a carer she paid for, she doesn't look like one of Xylan's own family members, right? After a while, Xylan also answered the puzzle for Gu Huiyan, telling him that Aunt Hua was not a paid caregiver, but a nearby neighbor who lived here after retirement. Xylan originally wanted to spend money to find a caregiver. She was not familiar with the area at that time, so she just wanted to ask Aunt Hua if she could help find one. Aunt Hua heard that she still needed such a small amount of work. "Find someone to take care of you. I can clean it for you if you have nothing to do. Anyway, retired Aunt Hua has nothing to do in her daily life. Xylan's place doesn't need to be cleaned frequently. When she comes to live, she will find housekeeping staff, but the flowers and plants are difficult to take care of." Aunt Hua is quite enthusiastic. She doesn't want Xylan's money, so she just comes to exercise as if it's nothing. There are many rare varieties of flowers in Xylan's yard, and she likes them quite a lot. Xylan always feels bad about not giving money, so every time she comes back, she will bring some gifts, such as clothes, perfume, or coffee beans brought back from abroad. She will also give money to buy food and meat when she lives here. My aunt's family will send some. Calculating the back and forth, Aunt Hua is not at a loss. The relationship between the neighbors is quite harmonious. That's it? After hearing this, Gu Huiyan couldn't help but feel enlightened. Thinking back, it was not surprising. Sister Xylan was very popular both inside and outside the industry, and her relationship with her neighbors was definitely not bad. Who is this? At this time, Aunt Hua patted the dirt on her hands and pointed at Gu Huiyan and asked Xylan. "Ah, he is." When Xylan was about to introduce Gu Huiyan as her friend, Aunt Hua said first with a surprised look on her face. "Is he your boyfriend? This is your first time bringing a boy back." Aunt Hua knows Xylan, but not Gu Huiyan. There are very few people of this age who are star chasers. Many older people only have daily necessities in life. How can they spend so much time caring about celebrities and artists? Even though Aunt Hua was familiar with Gu Huiyan because she had watched the Spring Festival Gala this year, she couldn't name him. She just knew that he might also be a star. This is quite normal. Xylan is a celebrity. Isn't it normal to find a celebrity boyfriend? Ah no. It's not. Next to me was Xylan, her pretty face full of exotic charm was somewhat feverish. She waved her hands to explain, but she looked like she was hiding it. "Haha, I understand, I understand. And Hua obviously misunderstood, waving her hands and saying, "You are celebrities, so your relationship cannot be exposed to ordinary people, otherwise it will be rumored, right?" "No, Aunt Hua, listen to me." Xylan still wanted to argue, but Aunt Hua didn't listen at all. She waved her hand and looked at Gu Huiyan carefully. "Well, the young man is really handsome, and he doesn't look like a pretty boy. His skin is not that white and he has a bit of a manly look. Xylan does have good taste. That is. Are you a bit young?" Cough. Aunt Hua, who realized this, couldn't help coughing, looked at Xylan with strange eyes, and said, "No wonder you were dissatisfied with some of the people I wanted to introduce to you some time ago. It turns out that I like younger people. These older people like to worry about things." Aunt Hua knows that Xylan is a big star, but she also knows that she is of age to be married. There were some pretty good young talents in her previous workplace, and she likes to talk to Xylan even if she has nothing to do. "Let's talk to Lin." But every time when similar topics were discussed, Xylan always chose to avoid them, which made her think that the big star Xylan she was looking for would not like them. "Oh, we made a fuss together for a long time, she likes this kind of young people. Also, regardless of men or women, they all like young and energetic people." Ah, ah. This made Xylan blush. Puff. Gu Huiyan next to him almost laughed. "Why are you laughing?" Xylan turned back and glared at him, and wanted to slap him, but Gu Huiyan ducked out of the way. The two of them looked very much like each other, and Aunt Hua waved her hands in a very sensible way. "Okay, I don't want to be a light bulb anymore. I'm still stewing beef at home. I'll bring you some later. You can play first." As she said this, she clapped her hands and was about to go back. "Aunt Hua. We are not." Xylan still wanted to explain, but unfortunately Aunt Hua didn't listen at all. As for Gu Huiyan, the old man just laughed there. Xylan blushed and felt helpless when she saw this, and finally glared at Gu Huiyan angrily and shouted to him to get something. "Come in." The area of Xylan's small courtyard is really quite large. It is estimated to be 400 to 500 square meters, which is enough to build a small villa in an ordinary place. She was a bit of a prodigal. The actual area she used was not very large. She only built 3 bedrooms and 2 living rooms. She didn't even build a second floor. There were only some balconies for drying clothes and deck chairs for sunbathing on the second floor. So, living in this area is really simple. Having said that, the rest of the place is very beautiful. For example, her huge yard is full of flowers and plants of various colors. There is also a vegetable field to the west where some radishes, cabbage, onions, garlic, and the like are grown. She was growing well, and many of them were bearing fruit. Xylan changed into a gray dress for home wear, and came downstairs to look at her flowers. It is worth mentioning that there is a row of succulents placed by the window of the room. Gu Huiyan has no research on flower cultivation, but he has heard from friends that succulents are very demanding on the environment. The climate here in Yunnan is just right for them to grow. "What are you looking at?" Xylan looked around at the things in her yard, and when she turned to look at Gu Huiyan, she found that Gu Huiyan was standing under the pomegranate tree in the middle of the yard, watching. "Look at this pomegranate tree." Gu Huiyan told Xylan that his grandma's house used to have a pomegranate tree, and pomegranates grew every year, which was always sweet, but then grandma got old and was picked up by his uncle, so he didn't live in his hometown often. "The pomegranate tree must still be there, right?" Xylan asked doubtfully. Why did she feel that there was some nostalgia in Gu Huiyan's eyes? "Here I am." Gu Huiyan rolled his eyes and complained that his uncle was not busy at work. When he had nothing to do, he used his hometown as a test base. He clearly didn't know how to prune trees, but he insisted on getting scissors to prune trees like other garden workers, and ended up cutting the pomegranate tree. It turned out to be bald when pruned, and it was pruned to death the next year, and no more pomegranates grew. A pomegranate tree had been pruned to death. Over the years, whenever Gu Huiyan and his family thought about this, they wanted to scold his uncle, but his uncle didn't dare to refute, because the pomegranate tree was not the only thing he pruned to death. Pook. Xylan smiled after hearing this, thinking that no wonder Gu Huiyan had some nostalgia in his eyes. I remember there seemed to be pomegranates here. Xylan walked into the room and actually found a pomegranate with a somewhat shriveled outer skin from the cabinet. Pomegranates can be stored for a long time. Although Gu Huiyan didn't remember how many months they were harvested, he could usually eat them in winter when he went to his grandma's house when he was a child. There was a rest area with parasols, tables, and chairs on the south side of the yard. Xylan made a pot of scented tea, poured 2 cups for herself and Gu Huiyan, then found a plate and peeled the pomegranate leisurely. Tea is not a good tea. This is what they serve to guests when eating in some ethnic restaurants here, but it tastes pretty good, very flowery, but the taste of tea is slightly lighter. It's like the jasmine tea that many elderly people love to drink. It's cheap but has great flavor. Gu Huiyan really liked drinking it, and asked Xylan where to buy it. This kind of tea is probably something that the actor Su will definitely disdain. Give. After peeling a small plate of pomegranates, Xylan gave them all to Gu Huiyan. She was a little flattered by Gu Huiyan and couldn't help but say, "This is the first time someone has peeled a pomegranate for me." Xylan smiled when she heard this and said, "Then if you come here often, my sister will peel it off for you." Gu Huiyan grinned and said nothing, and went to drink tea and eat pomegranates. Occasionally, Gu Huiyan's mind wandered a little and asked Xylan whether drinking tea and eating pomegranates would cause diarrhea. Xylan shook her head and smiled without even asking Du Niang, just saying that you worry too much, and you can't believe what you say online now. According to what is said on the internet, you really should not eat or drink anything. While the two were chatting, there was a movement at the door. Aunt Hua came carrying a bag and a bowl of freshly stewed beef. The bag contained some vegetables. Aunt Hua first put down the beef, then pointed to the vegetables in the bag and said, "These vegetables all grow in your yard. If you haven't come back for so long, your place has almost become my vegetable garden." Aunt Hua shook her head and sighed. Xylan had planted some vegetables in her yard. She had been away for at least half a month or more than half a year. When the vegetables grew, Aunt Hua basically took them home. This was considered a tacit understanding between them. Agreed. Xylan doesn't care, as long as she can eat homegrown vegetables every time she comes back. Thank you. Xylan pursed her lips and smiled. While thanking her, she did not forget to take out 2 bags from the room and gave them to Aunt Hua before leaving. One of them was fruit bought on the road. She bought 2 portions. Before, Gu Huiyan wondered why she bought so much, but now she understood that it was for Aunt Hua. The other bag looked like a packaging bag, and inside it was a small earring. It was given by the brand a few days ago. It cost no money and was not expensive, otherwise Aunt Hua would not have wanted it. It is worth mentioning that after Aunt Hua left, an orange cat ran in at the door. The inner cat probably didn't eat and was very chubby. Gu Huiyan liked it very much when he saw it, so he ran over and hugged it. This cat was not afraid of animals and actually let Gu Huiyan hold it. But it only lasted for a short while, and I was struggling to get down. After getting down, he ran a few steps and reached Xylan's feet. Gu Huiyan couldn't help but roll his eyes, meaning Xylan was better than him, right? Xylan covered her mouth and smiled, gently picked up the orange cat, and told Gu Huiyan that this cat was Aunt Hua's cat, called Dudu. Every time she arrived, the cat would run away as if it smelled something. "Come over. Go to the kitchen and help me find that ham sausage. I remember there is one." Xylan called Gu Huiyan for help. The reason why the cat came often was because he knew that when he saw Xylan, he would get something delicious. Aunt Hua is definitely not bad at cats, but she usually just feeds them cat food. Cats are also smart, and they also need to eat some game occasionally. This was the first time Gu Huiyan fed a cat. He broke it into small pieces and threw them in front of it. Don't tell me that even though this cat was plump, it was really cute and adorable. Do you like cats? Xylin asked as if she saw it. Gu Huiyan nodded. There are few boys who don't like cats, and Pei Jingshu also likes them. However, they are both busy at work, so if they have cats, they are left to others to raise, which is not interesting. Xylin smiled, thought for a while, and said. Then do you want to raise one together? The first time he heard this, Gu Huiyan was stunned for a moment and looked at Xylin strangely. Siren happened to be looking at him too. The two people's eyes met in mid-air, and for a moment, the air became stagnant. Together. Get a cat? Participating in a love show, this little guy is too down to earth. Author, Buletin Shi Swan Shi Shui Xian. Chapter 387. The courtyard is facing the sun, and the lighting is very good. The sunset light in the evening falls freely, shining on Xylin's long curly hair, and also on her pretty face full of maturity and exotic style. The distant sky gradually darkened, and the setting sun faded away, bringing a bit of winter coolness. Gu Huiyan and Xylin were staring at each other in the yard. Don't get me wrong, I mean. Maybe because she felt there was a bit of embarrassment in the air, Xylin's pretty face turned red, and she explained that they could adopt a cat together, and they would just keep it here and give it to Aunt Hua to raise and come and see it when they have free time. It's their cat after all. Cough. Gu Huiyan coughed lightly, sat down to the side, took a sip of tea to moisten his throat, and said. Well, that's okay, okay. Xylin raised her beautiful hand and rubbed her forehead silently. When she turned her head to avoid Gu Huiyan's gaze, she couldn't help but wonder, what's wrong with her? She's not a little girl anymore. Why is she still blushing and embarrassed so easily? After thinking about it, Xylin finally passed the blame to Aunt Hua, the owner of the orange cat, because she blamed Aunt Hua for teasing her just now. She likes young people. This means she can easily have wild imaginations, okay. With such a premise, it is easy for her to think nonsense. Let's make dinner. It was getting late, so while changing the subject, Xylin simply called Gu Huiyan to make dinner. Aunt Hua gave me a lot of vegetables, such as cabbage, eggplant, kidney beans, etc. Among them was chayote, which is not a very popular vegetable. It is quite rare. After cleaning it, Xylin planned to use a knife. Cut it. Originally, Gu Huiyan was playing with cats outside, and he must have planned to help, but Xylin insisted on not using him, saying that she wanted him to have a taste of her craft. It only took a short while. Hiss. Crack. The sound of a knife falling to the ground was heard in the room. What's wrong? Gu Huiyan, the stinky scumbag, was having so much fun just now holding the cat, but now he just threw it away. At that time, he was so stunned by the orange cat named Dudu that the SLR camera could talk. Yes, everyone has to follow Gu Huiyan. I may not be a human, but you're a real dog. What happened? When Gu Huiyan went in, he saw Xylin holding his hand. There seemed to be a cut on the index finger and it was bleeding. The knife fell to the ground, and it was obvious that he accidentally cut his hand while cutting something. Why are you so careless? Gu Huiyan hurried over. Xylin's mouth was fine. It was just a small cut, but her eyes seemed to be sparkling. She was not a child anymore. She had cut her hand before. She didn't know what was going on. Why are you so vulnerable lately? Are you really at this age and do you need anyone to care? Not to mention, seeing Gu Huiyan's anxious look, she was really touched. However, at this moment, Gu Huiyan suddenly grabbed her finger and stuffed it into his mouth. Hey, don't. Xylin was startled, and then a blush quickly appeared on her pretty face. Her hand was stuffed into her mouth by Gu Huiyan. There were some strange touches coming from my fingertips, as if this guy was licking his fingers. Dirty. She looked at Gu Huiyan shyly, wanting him to release her fingers. Gu Huiyan did let go. While letting go, he stared at Xylin's fingers and explained that this was also a conditioned reflex. When he was a child, he saw adults in his family accidentally cutting their hands and stuffing them into their mouths. Later, I did this, thinking it would stop the bleeding. But in fact, this thing can't stop bleeding, it just contains some active cells in the body. Relatively speaking, there are more bacteria in saliva, making it easy to get infected. The doctor's advice is definitely to cleanse with saline, and then put a band-aid on it. At least never flush it, for fear of infection. But Gu Huiyan has not been aware of this since he was a child. He used to cut his hand and stuff it into his mouth for a while, then let it dry until the bleeding stopped. The hole was not big, so it was not so pretentious. Just now I saw that there was a lot of blood on Xylin's hands. Her hands were white, but the blood looked extremely red. Gu Huiyan stuffed it into his mouth in a hurry. Then you can't let Siren stuff it in her mouth, right? After he came to his senses, he explained to Xylin, Gu Huiyan also said that if you mind, I can go out and buy hydrogen peroxide or something. Is he thinking that when Xylin said dirty just now, she thought she was dissatisfied that her saliva was dirty? Xylin was amused and couldn't help but look at Gu Huiyan with a dumbfounded look and asked. Why are you always so naive? The current Gu Huiyan is no longer the amateur he was when he first debuted, but this guy has not changed at all in many ways. He is naive and a bit silly. Seeing that Gu Huiyan was confused, she pointed to her hand and said. I mean my hands are dirty. I touched vegetables and meat just now. Oh. After hearing this, Gu Huiyan felt relieved and asked Xylin if there were any band-aids at home. Not to mention, there were indeed some at home, because Xylin was always prone to accidentally breaking her hands, such as when doing flowers or vegetables. Yes, so I always have it at home. Gu Huiyan took it out and gave her a brief treatment. Xylin found it a bit funny and asked Gu Huiyan why you were making such a fuss like the staff who recorded the program. Gu Huiyan replied that if this was my own hand, I wouldn't make a fuss about such a small hole, but isn't this your hand, Sister Xylin? Then if I bite it, it will be fine. This small hole will not kill me, so wouldn't you be happy? So you're trying to trick me? Xylin tucked the big wave behind her ear and looked at Gu Huiyan amusedly. Gu Huiyan patted his chest and promised. Every word comes from my heart. Pook. Xylin couldn't help but roll her eyes at him and said. Rhetoric. Having said that, she is still quite useful. Indeed, she is not that pretentious. It doesn't matter if others don't care about her, but Gu Huiyan can't do it. If he is indifferent to her, Xylin will be very hurt. Okay, just rest, I can go. After wrapping Xylin's band-aid, Gu Huiyan simply clapped his hands and went into the kitchen. He was quite familiar with it. Although he was busy with concerts this year, he had more free time than before. When he was at home, he basically cooked by himself. So his cooking skills will definitely not deteriorate. Xylin wants to fry a chayote. Gu Huiyan has never fried this kind of thing before. This thing was more common in his previous generation, that is, at his mother's age. At that time, everyone grew their own vegetables, and this thing didn't cost much. Money grows more. But in his generation, he ate less, mostly cabbage, beans and the like. In summer, shandong beans really gave people a headache. Gu Huiyan asked Xylin how to stir-fry, and Xylin said that this stir-fried pork slices would be fine. Just use the regular stir-fry method, sauté the onion and ginger until fragrant, add the meat to the dish, throw in some sauce, salt, or something to season it. You can add some as you like. Just add some color and it's ready to go. When Gu Huiyan heard it, he thought it was quite simple, so he simply cut it into pieces and put them on the side, and then finished the rest. There were actually a lot of dishes, but to be honest, when Gu Huiyan saw cabbage, kidney beans, potatoes, tomatoes, eggplants, and other dishes, he suddenly thought of something particularly exciting. Stewed indiscriminately. In the past, when Gu Huiyan was in his hometown, there were often some dishes left in the refrigerator that were not enough to make a whole plate. There was no way around it. Living at home, you could never cook the dishes just right, and there would always be some leftovers. At that time, Gu Ma liked to integrate these leftovers every once in a while and make a mess. Don't tell me, stewing so many vegetables together with some pork belly is really delicious. Some people like to eat individual dishes and individual tastes. But if you let Gu Huiyan say, that bite is really more exciting than eating it alone. After discussing it with Xylin, Xylin happily said that she would leave the kitchen to Gu Huiyan and she could do whatever she wanted. So Gu Huiyan just chopped it up and stewed it. It is worth mentioning that Gu Huiyan used a wood-fired stove, a specially lit fire. This kind of stove is not perfect for stewing. The small courtyard of Xylin is really full of life. This kind of stove that still needs to light a fire is rarely used nowadays. Speaking of which, Gu Huiyan was used to lighting fires and boiling water when he lived in his hometown village. Now he is familiar with lighting fires. He lit them in a short time. If it were another person, he might not be able to understand. Today's young people no longer burn firewood. Smell good. After stewing for only a short while, the aroma came out. Gu Huiyan took the opportunity to fry the chayote. During the process, he asked Xylin if she wanted to eat staple food. It was evening. Not to mention being a celebrity, people who pay attention to health generally don't eat staple food at night. Xylin didn't know what Gu Huiyan was going to do, so she asked. Gu Huiyan said that there was a small pot of beef that Aunt Hua brought, and she wanted to make beef noodles for the two of them. Beef noodles. When Xylin heard the word beef noodles, she looked at Gu Huiyan strangely and smiled for a while. Gu Huiyan had black lines on his forehead and couldn't help but roll his eyes and said, "Sister Xylin, are you a laughing stock or a laughing stock?" They both knew what Xylin was laughing about. Beef noodles must be a big deal here for Gu Huiyan. During that time, he broke up with Pei Jingshu. The whole network felt sorry for Pei Jingshu and scolded him. He was eaten when he went out to eat beef noodles. After taking the photo, some people actually said that this old six still has the heart to eat beef noodles. Even now, people occasionally tease Gu Huiyan, saying that he can finally eat beef noodles in an honest manner. Now, when talking about beef noodles, it's no wonder that Xylin laughs. I don't laugh at jokes, I don't laugh at people either. Xylin was leaning at the door, holding Dudu with one arm horizontally, and said while petting the cat, "Do it, I'll eat whatever you do." She was like the kind of wife who enjoyed her husband cooking delicious food for her. It was almost night and the sky was almost completely dark. Xylin went to turn on the lights in the yard. She had made some string lights in the yard, so even if it's dark, and the yard is very bright, and it seems more atmospheric. Of course, it was a bit cold. Xylin wrapped herself in a local moire shawl. This shawl was something she often wore when she was filming Crystal Love Season. Like Gu Huiyan's grey hat, it was also worn by an old actor. The temperature difference between day and night is huge here in winter, and it's always quite cold without the sun, so it's a pity that they can't eat outside. In fact, there is no need to fill a big table with a sumptuous dinner for 2 people, because it would be a waste if you don't finish it all. There was beef from Aunt Hua at home, and Xylin just wanted to stir-fry 1 or 2 dishes. Gu Huiyan coincided with her idea and made a stew, stir-fry chayote, and cut a plate of beef. And made 2 more bowls of beef noodles. On a dining table that is not too big, these plates and bowls feel quite warm and homey. Chi Lu. Gu Huiyan was still the same as before. He didn't have any taste for food at all. He was sitting opposite the goddess Xylan and eating without being particular at all. It is worth mentioning that Xylan was not eating quickly, but her phoenix eyes often glanced at Gu Huiyan, and sometimes she pursed her lips and smiled. "Why don't you eat? Why are you always staring at me?" It was a little strange to see Gu Huiyan. Xylan shook her head slightly and explained in a very plain tone. "I usually eat at this table by myself a lot of the time, but it feels different when you are here." Normally, she does bring her family to play, but not very often. After all, her family lives far away from here, so she only comes here for a vacation every year. This place is a relatively private place. Xylan is not willing to tell irrelevant people, so most of the time, she comes by herself, cooks and eats by herself, and enjoys such daily life. It's quite unimaginable that a female star who shines on the international stage would actually like this ordinary pastoral life. Gu Huiyan didn't know how to answer for a while. After swallowing the beef and noodles in his mouth, he finally thought of how to answer. He said, "Then I'll come more often." No one needs to be sure about this, it is definitely what Xylan is most willing to hear. As expected, Xylan laughed happily after hearing this, but she would also tell Gu Huiyan, "Don't talk so much. I gave you the key a long time ago. This is your first time here. Who knows if you will break your promise?" "I try not to," Gu Huiyan said. Xylan rolled her eyes at him, brushed away her messy hair, and said to Gu Huiyan while eating noodles, "Just remember this place and come when you want. It's always there." She seemed to be talking about the house, and she seemed to be talking about herself. For a moment, Gu Huiyan was a little confused. And looking at Xylan, who silently lowered her head to eat noodles, Gu Huiyan sometimes really couldn't bear it. Sister Xylan is always very sensible, always good at taking care of others, and can also take care of his feelings. She has never made it difficult for him at any time, and she has never asked Gu Huiyan for anything. This kind of silent dedication, to a certain extent, it's really more poignant than the kind of people who clamor to be together. Ah, it's so good. Although Xylan doesn't have food taboos, she doesn't have a big appetite on weekdays, and she eats very little at night. Not to mention that Gu Huiyan cooked a lot today, just that bowl of beef noodles, and she ate a little too much. Just then, Gu Huiyan asked her if she wanted to make beef soup. Fortunately, she didn't, otherwise she wouldn't be able to eat it and it would be a waste. "Would you like to go for a walk?" It happened that Gu Huiyan had just finished washing the dishes and tidying up, so Xylan simply suggested this. "Oh, okay." Gu Huiyan nodded and reminded Xylan, "The weather is a bit cold, so remember to wear thicker clothes." Gu Huiyan just came in from outside. It is winter after all. The temperature here is definitely less than 10 degrees after dark. Maybe it is not necessary to wear cotton trousers like most places in the north. However, autumn clothes and long trousers are needed to keep warm. You must wear clothes. Okay, just wait for me. Xylan went upstairs to change clothes. She wore a gray-white coat with a waist-cinching style that showed off her figure. People, when you eat too much and your stomach is bulging, you will have the illusion that you have suddenly gained weight and become a fat man weighing 200 to 300 pounds. The same is true for Xylan. After going downstairs, she always asks whether this dress is inappropriate and her waist feels much thicker. Gu Huiyan was so happy that he couldn't help but joked. "You want to become fat after just one meal? You look down on fat people too much. Do you really think that being fat is just about anyone who wants to be fat? What a joke. You are really good at comforting people." Xylan rolled her eyes at him, Gu Huiyan laughed, and the two of them walked out the door. In fact, you can use a code lock at home, but Xylan seems to like the feeling of carrying a key, so the door is locked, and the key is just put in your pocket. It's not far from Urhai Lake. The two of them can just walk to Urhai Lake after dinner. It's just fart to say how beautiful Urhai Lake is at night. Urhai Lake is only beautiful on sunny days. It's beautiful during the day and evening. Don't talk about anything else. It's all the same. Sample. Fortunately, Gu Huiyan and Xylan didn't pay much attention to the scenery, they just wanted to take a walk to digest their food, so it was okay. It is worth mentioning that while walking on the Huanhai Road, they occasionally saw some couples who lived nearby and went for a walk. Because they were wrapped tightly and it was dark, no one recognized them. He looked at the couples walking around holding hands or holding each other's arms, and then looked at himself and Gu Huiyan. So far apart, as if there is a Milky Way in the middle. Xylan suddenly felt a little lonely. I always felt like something was missing just now, but now I seem to understand. Sister Xylan, look over there. Hey, the scenery over there is pretty good. You think it would be great if there were fireworks here? Haha, I'm just kidding. We can't set off fireworks here. I don't want to go in and step on the sewing machine. Sister Xylan, that. Gu Huiyan was forcing Lai Lai to talk, and he didn't notice anything strange about Xylan at all. Until his arm was gently held by Siren. His words stopped abruptly. Turning around to look, Siren had already held his arm, pretending as if nothing had happened, just like any of the couples walking here. It was natural, but it seemed like she was forcing herself to do it. Same, keep walking. You are listening to novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Participating in a love show, this little guy is too down to earth. Author, Buletin Shi Swan Shi Shui Xian. Chapter 388. Gu Huiyan didn't say anything, he just pretended that nothing happened, as if he was taking care of Sister Xylan's face, and continued walking like this. Even though he knew that if he was photographed like this, there might be another storm, he still didn't let go of Xylan. Xylan is a very face-conscious person, and Gu Huiyan knows this very well. She can take care of everyone's feelings and always maintain her own face. Even if her feelings for Gu Huiyan are so strong, she rarely expresses them face to face. She really doesn't want much, just 3 meals a day, all year round, and a walk after meals, just like any couple on the street, living an ordinary life. She was really good to Gu Huiyan. She never asked Gu Huiyan for anything, let alone any promises from Gu Huiyan. She just paid silently and always said that she was always there. It would seem too cruel for her to refuse just to hold hands with Gu Huiyan. Call. Xylan, who noticed that Gu Huiyan had noticed but did not expose it, seemed to let out a sigh of relief silently, and her whole body relaxed. Her body was so stiff just now. Speaking of which, she didn't know what was going on with her. She was obviously no longer the kind of girl in her early 20s. She was already very familiar with Gu Huiyan, and she could openly ask for his permission before doing this, but Gu Huiyan she will definitely agree, she knows. But she still secretly held his arm. How to say? Probably, she wanted to be more natural. Asking for consent seems unnatural. Although she is older than Gu Huiyan, she is a little shorter than Gu Huiyan, so when Xylan holds Gu Huiyan's arm, she still feels a little bit like a little bird. Quite a contrast. But Xylan's heart was quite clear. Speaking of which, she really enjoyed the scene of the two of them walking arm in arm after dinner. It was a bit cold at Urhai Lake at night. She was not too thin, but her coat was buttoned. It doesn't look good, and it will be a bit cold if it's not buttoned up. She felt chilly all the way here just now. But after holding Gu Huiyan's arm, she felt much warmer, probably because of joining the group to keep warm. Gu Huiyan is young after all. This kid is full of energy all day long, and he must have a lot of yang energy. At this moment, Xylin feels like a big furnace. So warm. Although Siren knew very well that she shouldn't think like this at this time, she still couldn't help but think that it would be nice if she could feel like this more often. It was already late when he got home, around 8 or 9 o'clock. Gu Huiyan thought that Xylin would clean up and go to bed when she got back. After all, he had the impression that Xylin would go to get ready for rest a little after 8:30. But Xylin didn't seem to be sleepy at all. When Gu Huiyan asked, she said that today was a bit unusual, she was in surprisingly good spirits, and she was inexplicably not sleepy. She said this, but she knew very well in her heart that it was because Gu Huiyan came to live here after a long absence. They are quite busy at work. They came to stay this afternoon and will leave tomorrow morning. Xylin has rarely seen Gu Huiyan this year. As she originally thought, if they are not filming and have few activities, their offline contact will always be reduced. It's so easy to see each other once, it's so easy for two people to stay together once, why not just stay a little longer? Just for a while. As for Gu Huiyan, he wasn't sleepy anyway. Seeing that Sister Xylin had a guitar at home, he had nothing to do, so he just practiced guitar for a while. Dong dong. The way he practiced the guitar was a bit showy. Xylin turned on the air conditioner, poured 2 cups of warm boiled water, placed 1 cup each for herself and Gu Huiyan, and asked Gu Huiyan in a funny way. If I ask you to sing a song now, does that mean you have to work overtime? The air conditioner next to the sofa is blowing hot air. There are many lights in the yard and it is shiny outside. In comparison, the light in the room is slightly dim. I just turned on a few yellow ambient lights. Warm colors make people feel spiritually warm inexplicably. It depends on who you sing to. Gu Huiyan shrugged and said sweetly. For singers, after they sing every day and regard singing as a profession, whether they go to KTV with friends offline or are asked to sing a song at a party, it is basically a type of overtime. This is what happens when you turn your passion into a career. But Gu Huiyan, why has he ever been stingy about working overtime? Let me sing you an interlude from our company's new drama. Gu Huiyan said. The song is called It's Always Quiet. Mother Zhang, it was a big deal to catch Gu Huiyan. Even if she was given a lot of scripts, she also asked Gu Huiyan to write theme songs, interludes, etc. for the corresponding scripts. Fortunately, when the system redeemed those scripts, it also gave away some OST. Otherwise, just redeeming those songs would have been a headache for Gu Huiyan. Okay. Xylin nodded, hugged the warm cup, wrapped the plush shawl around her body, and shrank slightly into the sofa, looking very casual. It's evening, and I don't want to drink coffee or tea. It would be great to have red wine, but unfortunately I don't have any at home, so Xylin has no choice but to drink light water and listen to Gu Huiyan singing. In this year, Gu Huiyan didn't write many songs for himself. After the second album, this guy was just busy holding concerts. Occasionally, he was urged by fans, but he always said he would do it soon, but he didn't release new songs. Xylin didn't expect that she could actually hear the first song of the new work. On the contrary, I am deeply honored. Dong dong. The melody of the guitar sounded, and Gu Huiyan played it quietly and sang quietly. Empty street scene. I want to find someone to express my feelings for. Making this kind of decision. It's loneliness and me that are neighbors. Our love. Scenery like the one you pass by. Always marching. But the steps never stop for me. This song is quite quiet, just like the title, from the melody to the singing, it is not boring at all, it is like a quiet talk, and it is quite picturesque. But I don't know why, but as she listened, Xylin's brows slowly furrowed. Why do you feel that the lyrics of this song are written, a bit like yourself? This was not an illusion. Although Xylan did not hear some of the lyrics clearly, a few of them made her feel that the song was sung by her. For example, the sentence always moving, but the steps never stop for me. Also like the sentence making this kind of decision means being lonely next to me. This kind of decision, what kind of decision is it? Is it because she disdains all the high-quality male resources around her and decides to wait silently in a place where Gu Huiyan might not even see her? Or was it the decision she made that year to freeze her eggs? A few lyrics reminded her of many images, and the originally tasteless water in her hand slowly turned sour. The chorus further confirmed her suspicion. Gu Huiyan sang, "My love for you has always been quiet. In exchange for the care you occasionally give me. It's obviously a movie for 3 people. But I still can't have a name." Xylan had to admit that Gu Huiyan was really good at writing and singing. When she first heard the title of the song, she heard "It's Always Quiet." Because Gu Huiyan said it was a song written for the company's new drama, I thought the song had nothing to do with me. As for the content, it might resonate with the theme of their company's new drama. But who would have thought that this so-called always quiet turned out to be "The love I give you has always been quiet." It was her who gave Gu Huiyan her love, which was always very quiet, in exchange for the few cares he would only give when he remembered her occasionally. Realizing this, Xylan didn't know why, but she burst into tears. The eye sockets gradually became moist. As a professional actor and well-known movie queen, Xylan has strict control over her tears. She often decides whether to cry or not. Because she cried a lot during filming, she was almost able to control her tears. But now, she even couldn't help crying. This feeling. It's really been a long time. My love for you has always been quiet. I was determined, from the beginning. I thought what I wanted was once. But I found that love must have response. It's quite strange to sing about others from your own perspective. Gu Huiyan doesn't like to be sensational, but he feels that there should be a song about Xylan. Gu Huiyan has written songs for many people, including Little Lucky, Meeting, and Like You for Pei Jingshu, and Your Smile, Secret Code and Shan Shan for Shang's Huiyan, but it seems that she is the only one who has never written a song for Siren. Perhaps the song Always Quiet was not written by Gu Huiyan specifically for Xylan, but was included in the script exchanged by the system. But no matter who among them listens to this song, they will hear points that resonate with their stories. My love for you has always been quiet. Except for the tears on my face, willful. It turns out that fate is used to explain. You suddenly don't love me, this thing. Dong dong. When the last few chords fell, Gu Huiyan moved his hand away from the guitar and glanced at Xylan not far away. As far as he could see, Siren's eyes were red, tears were falling down, and there were tear stains on her cheeks. Hoo. The air conditioner is still sending warm air, which makes people feel warm. The floor-to-ceiling windows in the living room isolate the cold night outside, and the warm-toned dim lights also give people a very warm feeling. The dim yellow light reflects Xylan's pretty face that is very high-end and full of mature flavor. She sat up, put down the water glass, wiped the tears on her face with her hand, then forced a smile and raised her jade hand. Pa bang. Clap your hands and applaud Gu Huiyan. She asked. Is it determined who the song is for? Gu Huiyan said that the song is the host of a drama. Generally, you don't have to sing it yourself. Not yet. Gu Huiyan shook his head. Sister, can you give it a try? Xylan asked with a smile. Gu Huiyan couldn't help but laugh after hearing this. The two of them just joked, and neither of them said anything else. This night passed quite quietly. Xylan and Gu Huiyan are both measured people. At this stage, they do not have excessive physical contact, and it is impossible to sleep together. Gu Huiyan really feels like he went to a friend's house for a night after work. The next morning, after saying hello to Aunt Hua, the two drove back. Gu Huiyan met up with his assistant and went to Hainan. Pei Jingshu and her family were on vacation there, so he was the only one missing. It also gave the staff who had been busy for a year a holiday. During this period, Gu Huiyan invited Xylin and Xylin. Lin said that she might also want to go home to see her family, so she would not accompany her. Before leaving, she told Gu Huiyan to have fun and made an appointment to meet at the Spring Festival Gala in Beijing sometime later. When Gu Huiyan arrived in Hainan, the person in charge of picking him up was Pei Jingshu. The separation was not long, only about a month. During the relationship, Pei Jingshu was always relatively high profile. As a well-known star, she was actually waiting for Gu Huiyan at the airport with a bouquet of flowers. When Gu Huiyan came out, she handed the flowers in her hand to Gu Huiyan. She was a little reserved and did not take the initiative to hug Gu Huiyan, but Gu Huiyan very enthusiastically bent over and hugged her. Ah! The crowd at the airport was much older, and there were many people watching Pei Jingshu. When they saw Gu Huiyan hugging Pei Jingshu, the crowd shouted exaggeratedly. In fact, in this scene, let alone them, even people who don't know Gu Huiyan and Pei Jingshu will think that this young couple is so sweet. Okay, everyone is watching. Pei Jingshu was a little shy after being hugged in front of so many people, while Gu Huiyan said ruthlessly, "You're not afraid of being looked at when you come to pick me up, but you're scared after just hugging me." Then kissing in public has never been done before. Pei Jingshu is wearing a white mask, and her long black hair is casually clamped by a hairpin. She looks gentle and virtuous, although she does not completely expose her so-called beautiful face. In terms of temperament, she also grasped it steadily. He raised his beautiful hand and patted Gu Huiyan angrily a few times before Gu Huiyan finally put her down. The two left the airport chatting and laughing, not caring about the photos taken by passers-by. They were so generous and enviable. Although, due to the popularity of Go Where the Wind Is recently, Gu Huiyan and Xilin's Looking to the West CP has shown signs of resurgence, but fans are just in the show, and they will not take it outside the show. Who doesn't know Gu Huiyan has a girlfriend? In addition, Gu Huiyan and Xylin are mostly promotional dramas, with little speculation about CP, and the popularity of the drama has not been brought to reality. Therefore, Gu Huiyan and Pei Jingshu are still sweet to them. After leaving the airport and getting on the bus, on the way to the resort hotel, Gu Huiyan asked Pei Jingshu how their uncle, aunt, and uncle were doing these past few days. Pei Jingshu replied that they got along quite harmoniously. After all, she was mediating and the parents of both families were sensible people, so there would be no problems. This guy Guzun has been talking about wanting to go wake surfing since he got here. Parents, at this age, you don't really like to play these exciting projects. Pei Jingshu has to take care of the parents, so he should go alone. Mother Gu is worried. It's okay, I'll whip him when we meet later. Gu Huiyan said calmly. Even if it didn't happen, Gu Huiyan would still slap him. Just tell him to come over here today, and Pei Jingshu will come to pick him up. Of course, Gu Huiyan won't ask his elders to pick him up, but you, his younger brother, won't come. Do you want to take another call? It's not like. Pei Jingshu giggled and told Gu Huiyan that later her father heard Guzun's thoughts. This old naughty boy secretly took Guzun to play, and was later caught by Pei's mother. If Gu Huiyan's mother hadn't been there, if you want to give Father Pei some face, you must give him a few words of training. She also said that Guzun and Pei's father got along very well, and often said that he was the replica of Gu Huiyan. Laughing all the way, we soon arrived at the resort hotel by the sea. It happened to be noon at that time, and when it was lunchtime, Gu Ma, Guzun, and Pei Jingshu's parents were all there, which saved Gu Huiyan from having to look at each other first, so the two families had lunch together. Oh, yes, it's not all together. Pei Ya is not here. Her sense of presence is actually not very high. Gu Huiyan is always easily forgotten by her. As for why she is not here, it is because the company has been a little busy recently. Pei Jingshu's some work needs to be done. Although Pei Jingshu's personal studio is now merged into Jing'an Media and is part of the company, they are still relatively intact. Jiang's mother did not let her be responsible for many of the company's businesses, nor was she responsible for other artists. Just responsible for Pei Jingshu. Even so, because of the rapid development of Pei Jingshu's career this year, she is also very busy. The two families were so ruthless that Gu Huiyan thought of her and played a video for her temporarily. This move made Pei's mother a little happy. She felt that Gu Huiyan was a really good kid and could take care of everyone. After dinner, Guzun was gibbering and asking Gu Huiyan to take him to do some offshore activities. Gu Huiyan didn't talk nonsense. You come out with me first. If you drag this kid out by his ears, he will be shocked. When he came back, he was treated honestly. Mother Gu felt sorry for her youngest son and thought Gu Huiyan was too harsh. Father Pei also said that children should be naughty, but Mother Pei, on the other hand, smiled and drank tea, looking a little comfortable by the side. Ahem, Mother Huiyan. After a while, after Mother Gu finished feeling sorry for her son, Mother Pei put down the teacup and said softly. Look at the two children now. Are their affairs about to be settled? The words just fell. Mother. Pei Jingshu blushed, frowned and shouted. At that time, Pei's mother still had a question mark on her face. She thought that Gu Huiyan and Pei Jingshu invited the two families to come here for vacation this year just to discuss lifelong matters. Before she came here, she even discussed her daughter's wedding dress with Father Pei. But why do you think your little daughter's reaction doesn't seem like this? Don't you want to get married? Participating in a love show, this little guy is too down to earth. Author, Buletin Shi Xuan Shi Shui Xian. Chapter 389. Pei Jingshu often looks like a little girl, always blushing easily and being shy. Although she has become a little more resistant now that she is with Gu Huiyan, it is limited to teasing them holding hands and hugging each other. If it is kissing in public or something else, she may still be shy if she should be. For example, at the Bird's Nest concert, the last stop of Gu Huiyan's tour some time ago, Gu Huiyan kissed her in front of more than 80,000 people. Of course Pei Jingshu would be shy and panicked when she was told about marriage by her elders. Speaking of which, when they came to Hainan, her and Gu Huiyan's idea was just to let the parents of the two families meet and spend time together. This is a holiday, the focus is on vacation and not on other things. But it seems like parents on both sides think too much. It's no wonder. You said that under normal circumstances, parents from both sides meet not to discuss marriage, but what else could it be? Not to mention Pei Jingshu's parents, Gu Huiyan's mother thought the same way. Seeing Pei Jingshu's reaction was strange at the time. After noticing Gu's mother's reaction, Pei Jingshu waved her hands repeatedly and said with a blushing face. Auntie, don't get me wrong, it's not that I don't want to marry him, I. It was also urgent at the time. Pei Jingshu blurted out that she didn't want to marry Gu Huiyan. She regretted it after she said it. How could such embarrassing words come out of Pei Jingshu's mouth? After saying this, she couldn't say anything else. She blushed, lowered her head, and even raised her hands to cover her face. Pook. This scene amused even Gu Huiyan and the parents on both sides, not to mention Gu Huiyan. Pei Jingshu, sometimes she is really cute. She always accidentally expresses her inner thoughts. After saying it, she feels so embarrassed. There is no one left. Still laughing. Hearing Gu Huiyan laugh, Pei Jingshu covered her face with one hand and patted Gu Huiyan lightly with the other hand, signaling Gu Huiyan to help her out quickly. Is this the time for you to laugh? Hey. Okay. Gu Huiyan hurriedly defended Pei Jingshu, saying that he still had to protect his girlfriend by himself. He explained that the parents on both sides had misunderstood, and they just wanted to invite the parents to take a vacation to meet and get acquainted with each other. There was no other meaning. They are all still young now, they all have their own careers, and they have not yet completely settled down. Let's just say this year. Although they usually see each other more than before, they are still very busy. Gu Huiyan even just arrived today. Come and spend the holidays with them. Pei's mother sighed silently when she heard this and said. When Jingshu's father and I heard about this, we even thought about the wedding dress at home. You guys. There was a look of helplessness on her face, and she could tell that it was definitely not that Gu Huiyan didn't want to get married, the problem was with their little daughter. Pei Jingshu is too shy. Although they have been in love for 2 or 3 years, as young people, who doesn't want to date for a few more years? After entering the marriage hall, some things will always be different from before. On the contrary, it was Gu Huiyan's attitude that made Pei's mother quite satisfied. She remembered that she saw a video some time ago, which was an interview after Gu Huiyan attended an event. At that time, a host asked when Gu Huiyan planned to marry Pei Jingshu. Oh! At that time, there was a lot of booing in the audience. Pei Ban takes care of CP was the sweetest true couple that almost all the audience and fans witnessed coming over. Of course, they were interested in this topic. In the blink of an eye, they have been talking for 2 or 3 years, and it is normal for topics such as marriage to come into their sight. And Pei's mother remembered what Gu Huiyan said in the interview video at that time. Just wait until she wants. I can do it anytime she wants. At that time, many people at the scene had stunned expressions on their faces. Gu Huiyan was always so casual. I remember someone else said this in the video comment area later. No, you stinky straight man, are you doing this to see if the girl is willing? You have to propose. Ahem, let's just say that from what I said, I feel like Gu Huiyan asked that Sister Pei not want to get married so early. Haha, I think so too. Sister Pei, just give him a title. What was funny later was that there were many at her in the comments section of Pei Jingshu's related videos, calling her to give Gu Huiyan a title. Quite interesting. Although the incident is quite funny, it also illustrates Gu Huiyan's attitude. He respects Pei Jingshu so much, which also makes Pei's father and Pei's mother quite relieved. Having said that, Gu Huiyan has been running to their house a lot this year, and he has also been delivering things to their house. The two elders have become quite familiar with Gu Huiyan from time to time, and they have completely become one of their own. Okay. Pei's father and Pei's mother regard Gu Huiyan as one of their own, and Gu's mother also regards Pei Jingshu as one of their own, so in fact, whether they are married or not, in other words, their life is no different from that of a family now. Pei Jingshu was even more embarrassed when she heard the topic related to wedding dress. It happened that the meal was finished at this moment, and Gu Huiyan simply made an excuse, saying that he was tired from traveling to catch the plane and wanted to go back to the room to rest for a while. Then he took Pei Jingshu back to the hotel room. Guzan wanted to drag Gu Huiyan to play, but unfortunately he was kicked aside by Gu Huiyan. This kid really has no eyesight. Gu Huiyan did not rent another room, but shared a room with Pei Jingshu. To be honest, the parents of both families met, so it was okay to share a room. Only. Not long after entering the room, Gu Huiyan hurriedly carried Pei Jingshu to the bed. The kiss made Pei Jingshu blush and almost suffocated. She was panting and said, "Didn't you say that you were tired on the road and needed to rest? This is how you rest. I must be looking for an excuse, aren't you?" Gu Huiyan shrugged. It had only been half a month since the scoundrel had seen Pei Jingshu, and now he was holding her like a toy, kissing and touching her. Pei Jingshu had nothing to do with him. She blushed and gave Gu Huiyan a white look and said, "A certain person pretended to be something like that when he first came to my house during the Chinese New Year last year, and now he doesn't pretend to be. Indeed, When Gu Huiyan went to her house during the Chinese New Year last year, the good guy slept in a room by himself. He held her hand only a handful of times at home, not to mention being rude. Now it would be better to bring her into the room in front of the second elder. Your true nature has been exposed, okay? Hey hey hey. Gu Huiyan lowered his head and kissed Pei Jingshu's neck without any explanation. Fair and smooth, Pei Jingshu always smells delicious, and the smell in her neck will be stronger. More than an hour passed quietly. Pei Jingshu was lying in Gu Huiyan's arms, not wanting to move. What do you think about getting married? Gu Huiyan asked. Pei Jingshu was stunned for a moment when she heard this, and looked at Gu Huiyan with a pair of watery eyes. Gu Huiyan seldom raised similar topics with Pei Jingshu, but it was mainly because their parents brought it up today. It doesn't matter to him. It's been a year or two since his mother talked about having a grandchild. When she went home this year, Gu's mother kept talking about how everyone her age was now a grandma, and everyone in that family had 2 children. That's not just Gu's mother talking about it, Pei Jingshu's parents also want to be grandparents. Elders are all like this. I have no idea. Pei Jingshu shook her head gently, her delicate body squirmed a few times in the quilt, and her head was buried in the pillow. Gu Huiyan grinned and told her not to think too much. He had no intention of forcing her. His attitude made Pei Jingshu quite happy. It wasn't that she didn't want to get married, but it just felt a bit sudden because she had never thought about similar topics. After a brief rest, Gu Huiyan took Pei Jingshu out. It is worth mentioning that when she went out, Pei Jingshu held a powder in her hand, looked in the mirror and spread the powder on her neck, trying to cover up the red marks, and complained to Gu Huiyan from time to time. It's all red here, what should I do if my aunt sees it later? Gu Huiyan is usually not gentle. Although he is always dishonest, he still cherishes Pei Jingshu. Today, it was purely an accident. Who told you to be obsessed with this thing? Gu Huiyan spread his hands helplessly. In the past, Pei Jingshu tried to grow strawberries for him, but failed no matter how many times she tried. She was not stupid, but she was mainly afraid of hurting Gu Huiyan. Later on, I became somewhat obsessed with this kind of thing. I always wanted to give Gu Huiyan a try, but it failed every time. Just now, Gu Huiyan said that I would demonstrate it for you again, and this is the result. Pei Jingshu rolled her eyes at him. In fact, Gu Huiyan didn't use much force, but if her skin was very white, it would be very sensitive and it would be easy for her to get strawberry marks. All she wanted now was to cover it up with foundation, otherwise it would be bad for her parents on both sides to see it later. But even though she tried her best to hide it, her mother still noticed something strange after she went out. Mother Pei glanced helplessly at her little daughter, then glared at Gu Huiyan, silently shook her head, but didn't say anything. The elders seemed to be tacitly aware of this matter and did not expose it. On the other hand, it was Gu Zun, who asked strangely after seeing Pei Jingshu. Sister-in-law, what's happening to your neck? At that time, Pei Jingshu's face turned red and she almost dug a crack in the ground and crawled in. Roll. Gu Huiyan went up to his brother and gave him a love touch. Gu Huiyan is actually quite good to his younger brother. Although he usually fights, he never lacks pocket money. He also took his younger brother to play a lot of offshore sports in the afternoon, which was crazy. In comparison, Pei Jingshu and the 3 parents seemed very quiet, just watching them play on the boat. Even so, when I see Gu Huiyan and his brother competing in wake surfing to see who can stand up first, I will still be infected by their laughter. Boys always have a weird desire to win. They made an appointment to camp at the beach in the evening, and the staff helped with the barbecue. Gu's mother and Pei's mother went to have tea, and Gu Huiyan took Gu Zun, Pei Jingshu and Pei's father to play beach volleyball for a while. When he was tired from playing, there was a beach motorcycle over there. The motorcycle was very exciting. Gu Zun and Gu Huiyan fought to ride it, but unfortunately they were slapped aside by Gu Huiyan. Father Pei is also an old naughty boy. He wears sunglasses and looks cool. He has occupied a beach motorcycle and has never gotten off it. Occasionally, he drifts. That's all. I told Gu Huiyan that he should write some songs that boys should listen to, such as racing themes. Pei Jingshu dislikes her father a little because he often makes things difficult for Gu Huiyan in this regard. Asking Gu Huiyan to write heavy rock is a typical case. It's a shame that Gu Huiyan sang Swing Together at the concert his uncle went to this year, which made it difficult for him. He does know how to please Father Pei. Look at this moment. Father Pei asked him to write a song about racing. In the evening, Pei Jingshu saw him arranging the song while holding the computer. A few days after returning, he released the song All the Way North. Father Pei was very happy to hear this, and he forwarded it to many friends. He is also an old and vain man, no wonder he can go with Gu Zun. After playing in Hainan for a few days, Gu Huiyan arrived a little late. Pei Jingshu and the others had already finished playing in most places, so they took a simple vacation. After sending their parents home, Gu Huiyan and Pei Jingshu went to the capital to attend the Spring Festival Gala. This year's Spring Festival Gala was no different from usual. We didn't see many new faces. It's worth mentioning that there were a lot fewer sketches than in previous years. Many of them were killed because netizens were wildly speculating on the themes of this year's sketches as the new year was approaching. There were many sketches. Screenwriter Kukiko had already guessed the color of Kukiko, so many sketches had to be blocked. This is not to blame the netizens, you have the ability to come up with something innovative to slap them in the face. Even if I give you a chance, you won't use it. There is no difference between the gala and last year. Because he has gone through the process, Gu Huiyan is already familiar with it. This year he has been busy with touring and has not been able to socialize. There are really many people who have not seen Gu Huiyan for a long time. When he came to the Spring Festival Gala, it was so loud, what a compliment. This year, Gu Huiyan may be rarely active in videos, variety shows and other programs, nor is he often on trending searches, but his career is rising rapidly. He established Jing'an Media with Pei Jingshu. This year's development momentum is very strong. A large number of newcomers and old people have signed contracts, young and old, with potential. He has written songs for several of them. His tour was also a complete success, and he even won the Golden Melody Award this year. It's almost the end of the year. The new drama Go Where the Wind Is was released and became a hit. According to statistics, 1 month after the drama was released, tourism in Yunnan, which was already very popular, has become popular. Many people are flying because of this drama. Going to Yunnan, especially the village where they filmed, is not very popular, but after filming, there were people everywhere checking in. This drama also allowed many people to see Gu Huiyan's talent in filming, which is quite amazing. Obviously, he didn't have much expectations for his acting before, but in the end, his performance in the drama was pretty good. Logically speaking, this kind of character who is active on the hot search list all year round can easily make people get distracted when filming, but he seems to have a drama-stricken face that makes it easy for people to integrate into the character. Some popular science bloggers on the internet later published some videos reviewing Gu Huiyan's acting skills and praised Gu Huiyan's acting skills, saying that he hid his talents deeply and was indeed worthy of the name Old Six. Also with Go Where the Wind Is, Gu Huiyan, who has been touring for a whole year and not gained much popularity, once again gained a lot of popularity. This year, Gu Huiyan won an award, opened up an acting career, established a company, and was undergoing transformation. Everything is indeed booming. You said that Gu Huiyan is like this, can colleagues in the industry not compliment him? If we know each other, we have become familiar with each other in the past, if we don't know each other, we have become familiar with each other in the past. What if there is a chance to cooperate in the future? In short, Gu Huiyan was very popular when he came to the Spring Festival Gala. Pei Jingshu felt a little sour when she saw it, because there were several female celebrities who secretly flirted with Gu Huiyan from time to time. Gu Huiyan now is definitely much more popular than Pei Jingshu. Having said that, Gu Huiyan's embarrassing attributes have not changed at all. This year's Spring Festival Gala once again performed normally and jumped up and down with excitement. It was on par with last year. I am a lucky audience, okay. Puff. Ah ha ha ha. Netizens laughed like crazy, and they don't know why. Now watching the Spring Festival Gala, they feel that Gu Huiyan is funnier than the sketch, and it brings them a lot of joy. It is worth mentioning that this year Gu Huiyan and Pei Jingshu also sang a chorus song. The song they sang was not a song with a main theme, but a song called Rooftop. Sweet. Sprinkle some sugar. Sticky. However, the ratings at that time skyrocketed. The previous skit of making dumplings and smashing drove the ratings to the bottom, and how Pei Ban takes care of CP brought the ratings up. Netizens couldn't help but sigh, saying, "The Spring Festival Gala has figured out the traffic password. Wherever Gu Huiyan and Pei Jingshu are there will be traffic and popularity." However, netizens can't help but complain that Gu Huiyan and Pei Jingshu will not have a solo performance this year. There's nothing we can do about it. There are too many programs in the Spring Festival Gala. Last year, the two of them put up 4 or 5 programs. What's the total? If they were allowed to monopolize 4 or 5 programs, many people who were cancelled would be dissatisfied. Fortunately, they don't care much about this anymore. Today, Gu Huiyan and Pei Jingshu no longer need solo shows to prove their status in the industry. Speaking of which, many seniors still like Gu Huiyan. His down-to-earth character makes it easy for the seniors to like him. He is down-to-earth and has works, so I guess no one will dislike him. After the Spring Festival Gala, Gu Huiyan and Pei Jingshu were not in a hurry to go home. The main reason was that they had met their families before the year and there would be many parties after the new year, so they might as well stay in the capital for a while. Just occasionally, Pei Jingshu would want to go out and live, because Gu Huiyan was really too energetic. Of course, Gu Huiyan also had some revenge mentality. Before that, Pei Jingshu had called him several times before relatives came, deliberately making him awkward. The two of them are quite interesting. They stayed in the capital until the 3rd or 4th day of the Lunar New Year before they separated. They went back to their respective homes to celebrate the New Year. They were not married anyway, so it would be outrageous to follow each other home every year to celebrate the New Year. It is said that the villa bought by Gu Huiyan's family has been renovated this year. Pei Jingshu came to stay for a few days after leaving her relatives around the 10th day of the lunar month. The room at home was enough this time, but Gu Huiyan still secretly hummed Pei Jingshu every night. Go to the room, which caused Gu Ma to scold. After the 15th day, Gu Huiyan also visited Pei Jingshu's parents, and then they returned to the company together. It's a new year again, and we have to formulate a development strategy for this year. Participating in a love show, this little guy is too down to earth. Author, Buletin Shi Swan Shi Shui Xian. Chapter 390. Pei Jingshu is actually easy to handle. She should just be busy with her daily endorsements. At most, she will see if there is anything that needs to be replaced. Gu Huiyan, on the other hand, is busy with last year's tour. Does she plan to appear on the show this year or continue to hold concerts? It doesn't matter if I act in another movie, the scripts he gave me were all good. At the end of the year, Go Where the Wind Is was well received. It would be a good choice to strike while the iron is hot and continue filming. Gu Huiyan is tired of concerts. He has been doing them for a whole year, and he keeps adding concerts during this period. Even if he goes to a foreign country to hold concerts, he has to rest for a while before continuing. So he planned to film movies and occasionally appear on shows this year. As for the time, he should arrange more time. At least it would not delay him from seeing Beijing Shanui for 2 days a week. After hearing this, Mother John couldn't help but complain. You are a big love brain. According to his wishes, work, or whatever doesn't matter, just don't delay me from having sex with Beijing Shu. He is also a talent. After all, he is now a boss. Whether Gu Huiyan wants to do it or not depends on his wishes. Mother John will not force him when she has nothing to do. After formulating the policy, Mother John released the news and talked about Gu Huiyan's plans for this year. Good guy, the day after the news was released, a lot of variety show invitations for him to be a flying guest or a regular guest came to him like a sea. As we all know, Gu Huiyan is a very cost-effective artist. Inviting him to appear on the show will be quite good in terms of variety show effect, traffic, popularity, and gimmicks, although the only resident variety shows he has appeared on are Crystal Love Season and Hello Life Partner. He is also a legendary figure in the variety show industry. Zhang Ma selected a few of them and showed them to Gu Huiyan. After Gu Huiyan agreed, she took them. However, in the middle of the year, she had a few months to spare because the second season of their Hello Life Partner was about to be released. Recording started. Although this show went downhill a bit in the first season due to Gu Huiyan's temporary withdrawal, it can still be regarded as a popular variety show. If it does a second season, Gu Huiyan will take the lead, so it won't be too bad no matter what. In addition, one of the guests on the show now, the little clip Shen Qingqing, has also become famous recently. Based on the first season, if there is a little news about the second season, many fans are looking forward to it. Zhang Ma is also a chicken thief, so directly use this market research to attract investment. It doesn't matter if you pull her in, you'll get a bunch of big name endorsements. Just look at Gu Huiyan's commercial value. There is no loss in investment in this show, but some investors will occasionally tell Gu Huiyan not to get into trouble again this season. Jiang's mother patted her chest and promised that I would definitely take good care of him. The variety show has been chosen, but for filming. The route Zhang Ma set for Gu Huiyan was really unique. She wanted him to make some movies with main themes. After all, although his acting skills in Go Where the Wind Winds were well received, it was a modern themed drama after all. Taking advantage of the success of Crystal Love Season and filming some movies with the main theme, I can get closer to the official side, and at the same time, I can also create a character who polishes my acting skills. It's just a bit hard and tiring, and I'll see if Huiyan is willing. After hearing this, Gu Huiyan patted his chest and said that there must be no problem with me. On the contrary, Beijing Shu felt somewhat sorry for Gu Huiyan. Speaking of which, Mother Zhang has also told Gu Huiyan in the past few days, asking him if he has any intention of touring abroad. He may not be able to go this year, but he can go next year. If he is interested in that, it is best to make a decision in advance. Abroad is not as good as domestic. All things are different. Gu Huiyan agreed after thinking about it. Touring abroad was actually quite new. It was time to go out for a walk. There was no point in staying at home all the time. That's all. This year, we started to proceed step by step. It went pretty smoothly, nothing went wrong. In the first half of the year, Gu Huiyan ran a few variety shows as a guest on the flight. Now Gu Huiyan's status is quite high. Wherever he goes, he is called Teacher Gu Huiyan, even if it was an outdoor reality show playing games, and many people didn't dare to kill him and wanted to confess him. In comparison, Gu Huiyan is not as pretentious and can't afford to play as they thought. Even though he is now almost at the top of the entertainment industry pyramid, he is still quite down to earth in his daily life, from food to clothing. Same, no different from before. This is quite gratifying to fans. His popularity and reputation are all online. By the middle of the year, there was no problem in recording a good live match. It is worth mentioning that Zhang Ma asked Pei Jingshu to be the director. Several issues of flying guests. After all, Pei Jingshu is no longer a private studio now. She works for the same company, and she can do whatever she can at work. The audience likes to see her, and Gu Hui and Pei Ban takes care of CP get together and spread sweets, so why not be satisfied? Audience. Not surprisingly, the issues with Pei Jingshu in them became the ones with the highest number of clicks. In the second half of the year, Gu Huiyan co-produced a movie with the main theme. It was a hardcore movie called Wolf Warriors. Basically, no young actors were used. They were all veteran actors. For this reason, Gu Huiyan practiced a lot in the first half of the year. I also specially added some talent points called martial arts basics to the system. After filming, it's true that I'm tired. Although it's not like using real guns and live ammunition, the tanks and the like are all serious, and the tricks with the opponent's actors are also real, and there are a few close combats. In the knife scene, both of them really had a lot of holes in their bodies. Because it was a closed shooting, the place he traveled was a bit far away, and fans couldn't see him. It was as if Gu Huiyan had disappeared in the second half of the year. It is worth mentioning that Pei Jingshu went to visit the cast. When she saw that Gu Huiyan, who had been filming for several months, his originally fair skin had darkened by more than 1 degree, and there were often knife wounds on his hands and body. When I fell down and injured my leg in an action scene, my delicate and fair face was really filled with distress. If there hadn't been someone nearby, she would have burst into tears. Even so, it also attracted many envious looks. After all, it was Pei Jingshu, the famous face of domestic entertainment. The filming lasted until the end of the year. Because the filming was completed a little late and could not catch up with the series, Gu Huiyan did not go to the Spring Festival Gala this year, and Pei Jingshu did not go, so she couldn't go every year. She also wanted to spend New Year's Eve with her family. The main reason is that if she doesn't go back, Pei Ya can't go back either. The two sisters are not here, and it's just Pei's father and Pei's mother. How lonely they are. This year, Pei Jingshu has come to Gu Huiyan's house for the third time. Not only is she very familiar with Gu Huiyan's family, but she is also very familiar with Gu Huiyan's children and friends. When a group of people went out to eat, she even gave Gu Huiyan a meal. Several young girlfriends brought gifts. In fact, it was quite expensive, and it was some things that she couldn't fit in the cloakroom and planned to pack out. Most of them were big-name clothes, bags, and the like. Speaking of which, she also had a headache. Ever since she started working in this industry, she has often received new seasonal products from brands. The cloakroom at home and her parents' cloakroom are full. Even so, the new products she receives every year are still a lot of. The poor will die poor and the rich will die rich. Who makes her have such a good image and be so popular with brands? She was spotted by several international big names before she debuted. In previous years, a lot of things that were packed away were given to Pei's mother, who gave them to her friends. This year, there were a lot of things packed away, so I just gave them to Gu Huiyan's friends. It wasn't a bad thing, there were a few she had worn once or twice, and some she hadn't even worn. Friends liked it very much, but Gu Huiyan felt a little bit pained, which made Pei Jingshu laugh and complain that he was so stingy. There's nothing you can do about it. Being a child from a poor family, some things just can't be changed. Even now, Gu Huiyan rarely spends money lavishly. So far, the most money he has spent is on the several musical instruments he bought when renovating the music room at home. This thing is indeed useful, and the sound quality is indeed strong after buying it. All in all, this year is a relatively stable year for Gu Huiyan. After the new year, Gu Huiyan had an event in Yunnan, so he went to Xilan's small courtyard to stay for a few nights. Although Gu Huiyan was very busy this year, except for joining the group in the second half of the year and not having time, he would occasionally stay nearby during normal times. Come over. What I didn't tell Xylan, I just did as she said. I would stay there for 2 days if I had nothing to do, and help her with the flowers, trees, and cleaning. Xylan seemed to be in Shanghai during those 2 days. It was said that she was busy participating in activities and had no time. But the very next day, Xylan came over. Gu Huiyan asked her what was going on. She said she just came over after finishing her work. What he said was a bit unnatural, and he was obviously trying to trick Gu Huiyan. Gu Huiyan couldn't help but say, "If you do this, I won't come over again." Sister rolled her eyes at him, waved the big wave a little, and said calmly, "If you're not happy that I came here because of you, then you won't come here anymore." Gu Huiyan, a straight man, was speechless all of a sudden. He felt that Xylan was a little angry, so he had to give in. "All I can say is that a sister is a sister after all." While walking in the evening, Xylan chatted with Gu Huiyan about topics related to Shang Xuan. At this time last year, Gu Huiyan did not receive any news about Shang Xuan. She seemed to have disappeared. This year is very different. The new group she established released several new songs in the first half of the year, including several hits. After appearing on several singing stages, and with the fan base she already had there, she became an instant success. It seems that their company has positioned their group as an international style, so their subsequent stages will be like those at some foreign music festivals. After carefully packaging and designing some famous stage scenes, this group has become very popular by the end of the year. Now when I go to the internet to watch videos, I can often find some news about Shang Xuan. The internet has no memory. There are very few people criticizing Charlene Shang in the comment area now. It has been more than 2 years since the incident. Now Charlene Shang is shining brightly on the international stage. Who will take advantage of those things that no one acknowledged before? Why don't you let go of past things? Her domestic agent, Han Li, has recently been helping her contact some domestic resources. She might come back to work if she has the opportunity in the future. However, Xylan told Gu Huiyan that Shang Xuan didn't seem to want to come back, and she had turned down all the domestic test opportunities. This is normal. After all, domestic entertainment is not a minor injury. Compared with foreign countries, domestic entertainment is much less tolerant. You can live a good life abroad and make a lot of money. Why come back and be subject to this restriction? You can also bring honor to your country while you are abroad. If you don't come back, don't come back. Gu Huiyan's tone was actually a bit sour when she heard that Shang Xuan didn't want to come back. Xylan heard it but didn't choose to expose it. She just asked Gu Huiyan, "I heard that you are going to tour abroad after the year." Gu Huiyan nodded. He was filming and appearing in variety shows last year, which can be considered relaxed. He took a year's rest and his voice was in pretty good condition. During this period, he also wrote a new album, which is still at the top of the hot song charts on various platforms. It is widely sung, and it's time to go abroad. Xylan couldn't help but smile after hearing this, and asked Gu Huiyan in a suggestive way, "Will you go to Seoul then?" Gu Huiyan was stunned for a moment after hearing this, and looked at Xylan strangely. To be honest, he had never thought about this, but it seemed that the route planned by Zhang Ma did include the Bangsa country. It is said that it is an overseas tour, but in fact the countries we go to are relatively popular and well known. For those unpopular places, let alone the attendance rate, it is not certain whether there are serious stadiums with safety guarantees. If you go to Bangsa country, you probably go to the capital. And isn't Shang Xuan just over there? Facing Gu Huiyan's strange look, Xylan said as expected, "Go and meet her. We haven't seen her for several years. Just treat her as a friend from China. She will treat you well no matter what." Gu Huiyan didn't speak or answer. His eyes looked a little heavy. He didn't know why, but he suddenly remembered the 2 days he spent in Chongqing before Shang Zuoyan left. She is really special. Although Gu Huiyan and Pei Jingshu spend a lot of sweet time, the feeling she gives to Gu Huiyan is never the same. Talk later. In the end, Gu Huiyan was not sure. When they separated, Shang Zuoyan said that they would never see each other again. Gu Huiyan tried to keep her. At that time, Gu Huiyan actually didn't know what would happen in the future. He just wanted to keep her. No one in Gu Huiyan's position at that time would let Shang Zuoyan go. But she left anyway. She was quite decisive, and Gu Huiyan could only give her the song code in the end. Even after a whole year of touring, Gu Huiyan has never sung this song, and fans have never sung it. There are still some rumors about this. Last year, he didn't hear any news about her. Gu Huiyan was really worried. To be honest, there was a period last year when Gu Huiyan almost bought a plane ticket and flew over to see how she was doing. I heard that she got better this year, and Gu Huiyan was really happy for her, but he didn't go when there was no news about her that year. Wouldn't it seem a bit? Belated affection is even cheaper than a dog. Plus, since she said she was missing, how could Gu Huiyan take the initiative to contact her? It's been more than 2 years. Everything around Gu Huiyan has changed a lot, and I believe the changes on her side are not small either. Occasionally, Gu Huiyan is very happy to see videos of her performances abroad. The fans in the audience are crying and howling. The energetic girl with a smile on her face was there. They are welcome everywhere, and foreigners always look like they have never seen the world. And I feel that if he appears, Shang Zuoyan will be unhappy again. He always doesn't want to harm Shang Zuoyan. After leaving Xilin, within a few days, Gu Huiyan packed his luggage and went abroad. First, he traveled to some European and American cities. After all, he was a Chinese singer, so even when he went to foreign cities, most of the people who came to watch Huiyan's concert were compatriots. Considering the thoughts and feelings of his compatriots, Gu Huiyan sang a song Falling Leaves Return to Their Roots at the first concert in Eagle Country. At that time, this song made many people in the stadium cry. It was even trending on domestic searches. Those few lines of the chorus. Being far away from home is no longer sad, it turns into an autumn night. But I am like a fallen leaf returning to its roots, falling into your heart. A bit hesitant, a bit lonely, but willing to do it. My love is like a fallen leaf returning to its roots. Home is only with you. These lines were quite popular, and later Gu Huiyan was asked to sing this song in every foreign city he went to. Having said that, many international students here in Eagle Country are really interesting, very open-minded, and very supportive. Gu Huiyan originally thought that this was the case in other places, but later he found that the international students here in Eagle Country were indeed different. It is indeed known as the favorite place of young masters and young ladies. The sound of the several tours was quite good. After a few tours, Gu Huiyan's status in the hearts of overseas Chinese people skyrocketed. Later, when he went to a city, Gu Huiyan saw some older audiences. Gu Huiyan asked, did they also listen to his songs? I feel that his songs are mostly for young people. Later I heard that they were the previous generations of Chinese who had settled abroad. Many of them had never returned to China a few times. They just watched domestic singers come to hold concerts and wanted to listen to more Mandarin songs. Gu Huiyan's side is just like an overseas Chinese gathering. Surrounded by compatriots, the feeling is different. This makes Gu Huiyan feel that this overseas tour is quite meaningful. Singing and acting, the end of the year is here in a blink of an eye. Gu Huiyan never thought that time would fly by so fast. Another year has passed in the blink of an eye. At the beginning of the year, he and Sister Xilin talked about whether to go to Seoul to meet Zuoyan Shang. Who would have thought that he would only return here after the tour at the end of the year? The weather is quite cold. In this season, Seoul is even colder than Beijing. Gu Huiyan also admires some of the female students here. Some of them wear thin clothes, which is no different from exposing their legs. When he saw them, Gu Huiyan couldn't help but wonder, would a girl like Shang Zuoyan who dared to wear clothes also wear this way? You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Participating in a love show, this little guy is too down to earth. Author, Buletin Shi Swan Shi Shui Xian. Chapter 391. In the blink of an eye, it has been a week since Gu Huiyan arrived in Seoul. Because this is the last show of this overseas tour, after this performance, Gu Huiyan will return to China for the new year. In addition, there are many trend-setting things in Bangsa country, so in addition to rehearsals these days, Gu Huiyan also goes out occasionally buy something. A friend in the industry asked him to buy some cosmetics and the like. When he went back, he also wanted to bring a gift to Pei Jingshu. All in all, these 2 days have been quite busy. In his spare time, Gu Huiyan will also follow the local staff to eat here and there. For example, I tried the local military hot pot, fried chicken and beer, etc. This can be regarded as an invisible benefit. Gu Huiyan has traveled to various countries and can eat delicious food from various countries. What I like better is the taco and the hot dog that I had in Europe and the United States before. They always like to add some pickles. Gu Huiyan really can't stand the stuffing. I feel that every country has some disgusting things. Pickles can't be tolerated, and kimchi is not very acceptable to Gu Huiyan. The taste is not very good, and sometimes Gu Huiyan can't help but think that it is not as delicious as the sauerkraut from northeast China. Of course, if you want to talk about disgusting food, there is really nothing in the world that can compare with China. Let's not talk about the preserved eggs that can scare the famous adventurer to tears. Just say that Gu Huiyan's hometown has a kind of pickled eggs in winter. The old people in the family love to eat these moldy pickles. It's scary. In the blink of an eye, the day before the concert has arrived. I had been here for nearly a week and was about to leave after the concert, but Gu Huiyan had not contacted Shang Zuoyan until the day before the concert. I was just a little hesitant. I picked up the phone and opened the chat interface with her several times, but never sent a message. A few times I even edited it and then deleted it. Their chat interface was still where it was 3 years ago. On the day of Chongqing, Shang Zuoyan made him wait for several hours in the morning while he urged her to go downstairs. Every time he saw the chat history and thought about what happened in those 2 days, Gu Huiyan hesitated a little, wondering whether he should contact her. Today. It was almost his last day in Seoul. No more contact. There should be no contact, right? To be honest, up to this day, Gu Huiyan didn't really want to contact her anymore, mainly because she was probably quite busy at work. If you wanted to meet her sincerely, you would have to make an appointment a day or two in advance. We would meet on the same day at the last minute. Damn it! Do you know if she is here? So Gu Huiyan has actually given up. At this moment, the chat interface with Shang Zuoyan was open, and he planned to quit. But at this moment, Gu Huiyan suddenly saw a very strange prompt appear in the upper left corner. The other party is typing. Gu Huiyan's heart skipped a beat when he saw this prompt. Before he could react, a long-lost message from 3 years later was sent to him. I've been waiting for news from you for a week. Are you sure you don't want to see me? When Gu Huiyan read a message, he felt as if he had been caught. Maybe it was because he hadn't contacted Shang Zuoyan for too long. Maybe it was too long. Some things about Shang Zuoyan had gradually faded into Gu Huiyan's memories. It's a little blurry. But when she sent a message again, when she knew that the person on the other side of the phone was her, when their affairs were like flipping through a book again, scenes after scenes appeared in Gu Huiyan's mind. That feeling is really awesome. Sometimes, Gu Huiyan is really not as free and easy as Shang Zuoyan. She always does what she wants and never hesitates. For example, Gu Huiyan edited the message many times, and it was estimated that the other party is typing. Should be displayed on Shang Zuoyan dozens or hundreds of times, but no message was sent. On the other hand, Shang Zuoyan, after editing, sends it out without hesitation and never withdraws it. She is always such an open and generous girl. After a moment of silence, Gu Huiyan edited a message and sent it. I want to see you. In fact, before sending the message, Gu Huiyan thought about whether he should be more polite and courteous with his words, but it seemed that there was no need to be so polite and courteous between them. If he did that, Shang Zuoyan would be unhappy. Well, we meet, after 3 years, things have changed. Everything in the past has long passed, and now they are on the right track. It is just like meeting old friends who have not seen each other for a long time. Friends from China come here to hold a concert. As the host, Shang Zuoyan invited him to have a meal, which was a common thing. Ding dong. Shang Zuoyan didn't say a word. She directly sent Gu Huiyan an address and told him to meet at 5 o'clock in the afternoon. She was very direct and straightforward, as if she had already thought about how to entertain Gu Huiyan. Gu Huiyan was not curious about how she knew he was in Seoul. On the one hand, the news that he was holding a concert here was not a secret and was quite public. On the other hand, his friends would probably tell Shang Zuoyan. What made Gu Huiyan quite emotional was that the two of them had never deleted each other's friends. It is worth mentioning that Shang Zuoyan's circle of friends seems to have not shared any updates. This may also be what caused Gu Huiyan's misunderstanding. After making an appointment, there was no hesitation. Gu Huiyan felt like a big stone had fallen in his heart, but before leaving, he still called Pei Jingshu. Why did you call me suddenly? Pei Jingshu was a little strange when she received the call. She had no work today and was resting in her apartment in Shanghai for the first time in a long time. She made an appointment with a beauty salon for a facial in the afternoon. Today was a rare break. To be honest, she almost wanted to go see Gu Huiyan. Gu Huiyan was touring abroad this year and very few were in China. He should come back. She was busy again. The last time she saw Gu Huiyan was more than 2 months ago. She definitely missed him. Tell you something. Gu Huiyan pursed his lips and smiled, and told her that he was going to meet Shang Zuoyan. Pei Jingshu became slightly silent after hearing this, and the smile on her face stiffened slightly. Even so, her pretty face was still very beautiful. Through the screen, Gu Huiyan could feel that she was not very happy, even a little sour. But Gu Huiyan was not worried at all, because Pei Jingshu was indeed a little unhappy, but she did not have any temper with Gu Huiyan, but... After digesting it for a moment, he said calmly. Since you are so frank, I can do whatever you want. Pei Jingshu is very similar to her mother, and she always has a very sensible character. She knows that since Gu Huiyan told her, it means that there is nothing wrong with him. He is abroad anyway, so he can go to see Shang Zuoyan without telling her. So even though she was reluctant and a little jealous, Pei Jingshu still didn't let Gu Huiyan go. Instead, she felt a little relieved because Gu Huiyan told her so openly. In the past, it was because Gu Huiyan lied to her that they broke up, and it was almost irreversible. Just a meal, I don't know anyone else here. Gu Huiyan and Pei Jingshu gave a symbolic explanation. In fact, there was no need to explain. Pei Jingshu believed him. The past 3 years have been so smooth, they rarely quarrel, and they are basically a family. They are so familiar with each other, so they will naturally understand his thoughts and trust him. Take care of her and me. At the end of the chat, Pei Jingshu said this. Pei Jingshu didn't owe much to Shang Zuoyan, but she somewhat sympathized with Shang Zuoyan because she was scolded like that for their affairs and was forced to leave her hometown. To this day, Pei Jingshu still remembers the scene when Gu Huiyan met Shang Zuoyan in a small restaurant before Suzhou's first solo concert. In the evening, Gu Huiyan arrived at the place agreed with Shang Zuoyan, which was almost near Myeongdong. Gu Huiyan is not very familiar with this place. It seems to be a place where some young people like to come. There are various duty-free shops and a snack street. If you want to visit the duty-free shop, you can visit the snack street, because Gu Huiyan glanced at it on the way here and actually saw the 4 characters iron squid inside. Not only these things, but also stinky tofu. The domestic cultural export is really scary. Gu Huiyan used to think that everywhere he went during domestic travel was stinky tofu and squid. Who would have ever wanted to go abroad? What the hell is this set of stuff? The most exaggerated thing is that on the way Gu Huiyan came, he saw a Mixui city. That's right, Snow King came to Bangsa country and stepped onto the international stage earlier than Gu Huiyan. Gu Huiyan may not know the Korean on their store sign, but he definitely knows the standard Snow King. That is to say, some fried rice cakes look good and fresh. There don't seem to be many such things made in China, so forget about others. Alas, in short, there is basically nothing to be curious about. The catering industry has been following the gimmick trend for a day or two. Foreign products are imported, and domestic products are naturally exported. It is commonplace. It is worth mentioning that, after all, it is known as the largest country in medical beauty. There are really many handsome men and beautiful women here, and many of them are very good at dressing up. When Gu Huiyan walks on the street, he can see those who know how to dress up almost everywhere. Men and women. Because of this, even though he is a big star, Gu Huiyan walking among this group of handsome guys and beauties is somewhat hidden in the city. It's really not that outstanding. Speaking of which, one good thing about touring abroad is that you don't have to be surrounded by people like you did when you were in China. Perhaps because of his embarrassing behavior in the 2 Spring Festival galas, Gu Huiyan later recognized him even if he was not a young man on the street, and some uncles and aunts recognized him, which made it difficult for him to go out to eat several times. On the contrary, after going abroad, I can finally go shopping on the streets as easily as before, which is quite pleasant. Occasionally, there are foreign students or foreign friends who can recognize him, but there are not many. For example, in Bangsa country, Gu Huiyan didn't get much attention. He took the subway all the way here. There are so many people. Gu Huiyan was wrapped in a down jacket, wearing a hat and a mask as usual, and stood at the intersection agreed with Shang Zuoyan. It is worth mentioning that today he is wearing a pink and white scarf. Gu Huiyan, who usually wears black, white, and gray and hates girly colors like pink, rarely wears such a scarf. If someone he knows is nearby, it will definitely be quite strange. I don't know if it's because the land resources are not very abundant, but the streets here are not very wide, and the intervals between the houses are relatively small. Although it is compact and beautiful, it also looks a bit petty. Myeongdong is a relatively popular place, so there are people everywhere. There are queues in front of many stores, and you don't know what to buy. Oh, yes, Gu Huiyan also saw some idol-themed restaurants on the way here. The idol culture here is really developed. It is said that offline singing stages can be seen everywhere. This made Gu Huiyan couldn't help but think of the time when he was a trainee. At that time, someone seemed to suggest that he come here to practice for a few years. There must be a reason. Today's weather is not too warm. Girls on the street basically wear pantyhose, bare-legged items, etc., and when paired with a small skirt, they look quite beautiful. There are also colorful posters posted at the entrances and walls of many stores. This makes Gu Huiyan couldn't help but think, Shang Zuoyan should be at ease in a place like this, right? She is a colorful girl who always likes weird things. This one just fits her style, quite open-minded. At this moment, many thoughts passed through Gu Huiyan's mind, and it seemed that every thought was related to Shang Zuoyan. In the past 3 years or so, Gu Huiyan's mind had never been filled with Shang Zuoyan as it is now. She really did it, making her stay with Gu Huiyan unforgettable. Hey! At this moment, when Gu Huiyan was stunned, someone suddenly tapped him on the shoulder. Gu Huiyan was startled. When he turned around and looked over, he saw a girl wearing a pure white fluffy woolen hat and a white mask, standing behind him. The girl has a slim figure and doesn't wear many clothes. She wears a pink sweater on her upper body and a white plush jacket. Because she has her arms open, her proud curves and uneven waist are clearly visible. The lower body is relatively simple, just a pair of light blue jeans. Even so, this proud figure that is wide and tight at the top also looks very attractive. To be honest, Gu Huiyan didn't dare to recognize this girl when he first saw her. After all, she was wearing a black and white woolen hat. The hat was so big that it basically covered the top of her eyes. As for the mask, it covered the lower half of his face. Gu Huiyan looked hard enough to see that her eyes were still looming on the lower edge of the woolen hat. It was strange to recognize her. What's more, she has black hair. But when Gu Huiyan lowered his eyes and saw the familiar Seong Dakshin er. Well, I dare to admit it now. Looking at the country and abroad, I have seen so many beauties, some of which are more recognizable than Seong Dakshin er of Shang Zuoyan's family, but Gu Huiyan has basically never seen them. Pei Jingshu is always recognized by her face and temperament, while Shang Zuoyan is always recognized by her two bodyguards. This is not an exaggeration. It's not just female celebrities. Nowadays, many girls are crazy about losing weight and have no concept of thinness. And many girls lose weight and lose their buttocks as soon as they lose weight. It's a normal thing. After all, it's all made up of fat. Isn't it just fat that you lose when you lose weight? Only Shang Zuoyan, no matter whether she is fat or thin, has never made her Seong er feel wronged. So. Very easy to recognize. Ahem, guess who I am? It is worth mentioning that Shang Zuoyan was still deliberately showing off her mystery. Carrying a white satchel, she lowered her head and pressed her hat, and asked Gu Huiyan in a low voice. Gu Huiyan shook his head and smiled, having no intention of complying with her damn mystery. But he saw him raising his hand, hooking the crook of his arm around Shang Zuoyan's neck, pulling her head and walking forward. Hey! Hey, what are you doing? I'm going to fall. Shang Zuoyan never thought that Gu Huiyan would dare to hug her so intimately. It doesn't seem to be called intimacy, this is more like a friendship gesture between brothers. She almost fell down. She picked up a pink ring with her beautiful hand and hit Gu Huiyan on the back many times. What the hell? This long-lost meeting 3 years later is not romantic at all. But there is one thing to say, at that moment, she suddenly felt that they were like a long-distance couple who had not seen each other for a long time. The girl was joking with the boy, and the boy directly pulled the girl's head to prevent her from succeeding, and then the two of them beat each other. Noisy. Quite interesting. There is also no distance between them. Obviously. It's been more than 3 years since I last saw you. You stinky straight man, if I don't look for you, will you beat me to death and not look for me? Finally released by Gu Huiyan, Shang Zuoyan tidied up the scattered hats and clothes, and stretched out her jade hand from her sleeves complainingly, stretched out a green jade finger and poked Gu Huiyan's chest several times. I'm afraid you don't want to see me. Gu Huiyan shrugged. In fact, when you say a lot of things on your mobile phone, it is easy to think a lot and interpret them blindly. But when you say it in reality, it feels like a very understated and relaxed sentence or two. I don't want to. Shang Zuoyan pointed her finger at her face. Even though she was wearing a mask, Gu Huiyan could see some cute look in her eyes that seemed to be holding her breath. I really can't speak, huh? She snorted and almost revealed that she really wanted to see Gu Huiyan and had long been looking forward to Gu Huiyan sending a message to ask her to meet. In the end, he just wrapped his hands around his chest and turned sideways. Okay. Gu Huiyan obediently took out a cup of hot latte from his bag and handed it to Shang Xuan. Gu Huiyan made it himself and didn't buy it from outside. He usually doesn't like to drink latte, but it is undeniable. The thing is, it's really refreshing. You know how to make coffee? After hearing this, Shang Xuan's pretty, doll-like face was filled with disbelief. Is it that exaggerated? Gu Huiyan scratched his head. Shang Xuan gave him a look that said, don't you know something about yourself? Her impression of Gu Huiyan was probably still 3 years ago. The impression she had of this guy was purely a realist who didn't even bother drinking tea. I know how to use a tea set, but if I find it troublesome, I just use a teacup. Hey guys, it's been 3 years since we last saw each other. Do you know how to make coffee? It seems that he has changed a lot in the past 3 years. Participating in a love show, this little guy is too down to earth. Author, Buletin Shi Xuan Shi Shui Xian. Chapter 392. The main thing is that this game is not as complicated as you think. Gu Huiyan scratched his head. In the past, he didn't know much about coffee. He always heard people say how fragrant coffee was. Because it was introduced from the West, it was hyped by many people. The prices sold in coffee shops outside are generally not cheap. Gu Huiyan wasn't very interested in this stuff, so he barely studied it. But when he was recording the second season of Hello Life Partner last year, he saw Chen Feng grinding coffee and drinking it. He had nothing to do and watched it with Biener for a while. After watching it, Gu Huiyan felt happy. What is coffee? In Gu Huiyan's words, it is high-grade soy milk. Isn't it just grinding coffee beans into powder, then using a coffee machine to concentrate it, and mixing it with water and milk? What is American? Concentrated and watered. What is a latte? Concentrated milk. What is cappuccino? Concentrated milk foam, add some caramel sauce. All the other fancy coffees with various flavors are based on this and add various flavorings. It's just that simple. If you really want to talk about being fancy and ornamental, Gu Huiyan thinks it's not as eye-catching as the Kung Fu tea method of making tea made by the best actor Su. And the aroma of tea has never been worse than that of coffee. That is to say, the concentrated coffee has a better short-term refreshing effect to a certain extent, but the rest is completely incomparable with tea. When Gu Huiyan and Shang Xuan go out, she always likes to drink milk tea. Gu Huiyan thinks that adding more sugar to the latte will taste better to some extent than the milk tea sold outside, so he made 2 of them in his spare time before coming. Cup. The weather is cold, so I might as well drink something hot. Speaking of which, I learned the experience of using this thermos cup from the actor Su. After listening to Gu Huiyan's explanation of high-grade soy milk for coffee, Shang Xuan almost rolled her eyes to the sky and couldn't help but complain. It took a lot of effort for me to have some kind of filter for you. Can you not break it so quickly? Gu Huiyan today is no longer the same as he was 3 years ago. At that time, Gu Huiyan was just preparing to hold his first solo concert in his life. Now, let alone the domestic tour has been completed, even overseas the tour has reached its last stop. In recent years, Gu Huiyan's reputation has been quite good both at home and abroad. Apart from the fact that the works he has released in recent years are much smaller than in previous years, there is basically nothing worth complaining about. Speaking of releasing less works, it's no wonder fans complained. It's been more than 3 years since his first concert, and he has only released 1 album in such a long time, with only 10 songs in it. This album also includes several previously written songs such as Swing Together, All the Way North, Rooftop, as well as 5 songs from the Spring Festival Gala, Young Chinese Story and Because of Love. In other words, in addition to these included works, he has written 5 new songs in more than 3 years. That's it. What's more, it's the result of fans urging them day and night. This old six is also good at drawing pie. It was first said that the new album would be released by the end of this year, and I was already writing it. As a result, you didn't write anything about it at the concert at the end of the year, but you still dared to let fans look forward to it at the concert. He promised that the new album would be released in January of the following year, but when asked at the press conference in the middle of the year, he actually said that it was a rumor. Do you dare to think about refuting the rumors yourself? He never changed his mind, and in a program interview at the end of the second year, he said he would release a new album. As a result, I still haven't posted it after a few months, and claimed that I was looking for inspiration. The fans were almost speechless. The most amazing thing was that in the third year, what did this uncle say? He said that fans are looking forward to the new album and I am also looking forward to it. It's not that I won't release an album, it's just that for now, I'm playing it all. At that time, many fans broke their guard. Okay. To be honest, if he dared to be so willful, any other star would have been scolded to pieces, right? Having said that, he has written a lot of songs for others in the past few years. He created a personal album for Pei Jingshu, which is more popular than his own album. He occasionally writes a few songs for newcomers in the company, but compared to Pei Jingshu's, they are stingy and the quality is not that high. Even so, every song is very popular, and therefore Gu Huiyan's company is getting better and better. Because he has exported a lot of works to others, fans didn't say anything and understood him. All in all, Gu Huiyan is no longer the traffic star he was before, but a well-deserved superstar. It's hard to imagine that such a person who gives people the impression of a big star can still speak in such a down-to-earth manner. I haven't seen you for 3 years. 3 years ago, Shang Zuoyan flew here alone. Even though she had some foundations before, she returned to China for several years to develop, and the world has changed a lot since she came back. Everything was quite difficult, and it was no different from starting over. In the past 3 years, not only Gu Huiyan has changed a lot, but she has also changed a lot. But similarly, Gu Huiyan's character has not changed, and her character has not changed much either. She still likes to wear those flashy clothes, as if the pinker, the better. Apart from her hair not being dyed any weird colors anymore, and being able to keep warm in winter, there is almost no change from before. When she puffed up her cheeks angrily, pinched her waist like a puffer fish, and stared at Gu Huiyan with those big Kazilan eyes, that feeling. It's really been a long time coming. To be honest, if the idol drama was going according to the current trend, Gu Huiyan would definitely go up and hug Shang Zuoyan. What a pity, what a pity, Gu Huiyan is not an idol drama hero after all. Don't worry about those details. Let's go. Didn't you invite me to dinner? Gu Huiyan had his hands in his pockets, and the collar of his clothes was pulled up a little high, which was inexplicably cool. He had never cared much about the broken filter thing. Since when has he not been a man who is always breaking filters? Cut. Shang Zuoyan pursed her lips and followed Gu Huiyan's pace. To be honest, there were a few moments where she wanted to hold Gu Huiyan's arm while walking beside him. But in the end she didn't do that. Originally, they wanted to treat each other as friends during this meeting. Since the day she left 3 years ago, she has never planned to see Gu Huiyan again. Now, just seeing her again makes her very satisfied and she doesn't expect anything else. Comparatively speaking, she was quite looking forward to this coffee. After opening it and taking a sip, she frowned. It wasn't that the coffee didn't taste good. The coffee beans were probably quite good and quite fragrant, but so sweet. She stuck out her pink tongue and looked up at Gu Huiyan. Gu Huiyan was really the standard height for Shandong people, 1.8 meters tall. No wonder he was so energetic when singing. Gu Huiyan hadn't looked at those big watery eyes for 3 years. To be honest, Gu Huiyan had made a lot of presets in his mind before meeting. He also thought about what he wanted to talk to Shang Zuoyan, but for some reason, after meeting, he didn't know what to do. Where to start chatting. For a moment, I was a little dazed. Hey, what are you looking at? I'm talking to you, hey. What interrupted Gu Huiyan's daze was Shang Zuoyan's jade hand waving in front of his eyes. Shang Zuoyan smells pretty good. She has always been a girl who pursues trends, so she rarely uses the same perfume. She has no intention of doing any greasy memory killing, and she will definitely not be able to remember it. The perfume she used that day was separated, but for some reason, Gu Huiyan felt very familiar when he smelled her scent. Ah, what? After being waved by her hand, Gu Huiyan asked, obviously not hearing what she said just now. I said, this coffee is so sweet. How much sugar did you put in it? There are a lot of people here, and Shang Zuoyan is also a big star in the local area, so she must wear a mask and a hat tightly for fear of being recognized. But even though she was wearing a white mask to cover her face, Shang Zuoyan could still see the bulge on the mask when she pouted, and at the same time, she frowned slightly, which was really cute. Is it sweet? Gu Huiyan scratched his head. Although he didn't make coffee often, he couldn't be too careful about how much sugar to put in. Today, he put in a little more sugar because it was Shang Zuoyan. He was afraid that she would find it bitter, but it wasn't too sweet. To the point where she said it, right? Here, try it. Shang Zuoyan naturally handed the thermos cup she drank from to Gu Huiyan. Gu Huiyan was slightly stunned. After a while, Shang Zuoyan was also slightly stunned, as if he realized that they should not drink the same cup of coffee. She turned her head to the side with a red face and whispered. You, don't get me wrong, I have no intention of kissing you indirectly. She couldn't help but want to slap herself on the forehead. Why was she talking so brainlessly now? This wasn't just once or twice. She had been doing this frequently since last year. Puff. Gu Huiyan, on the other hand, immediately became happy and couldn't help but tease Shang Zuoyan and said. Why are you acting like it was the first day we met? Pei Jingshu is easily shy, so Gu Huiyan tolerates it. Shang Zuoyan is not such a girl, right? Let alone indirect kissing, what haven't they done before? I've never had a direct mouth-to-mouth kiss, okay. In the past, Shang Zuoyan was so quarrelsome and even did such things as forcefully kissing Gu Huiyan. Why, now she blushes for an indirect kiss. Get out of here. Shang Zuoyan must have understood the meaning of Gu Huiyan's words, but she was not a shameless girl, either. She was so angry that she blushed and punched Gu Huiyan several times with a pink fist. Speaking of which, it may have been too smooth in the past few years. People around him said good things and basically complimented Gu Huiyan. No one really dared to hit him. Normally, that is, Gu Ma would occasionally be so angry with him that she would slap him a few times, or Pei Jingshu would slap him a few times if she was really disgusted, but it was always gentle and with the palm of her hand. Only Shang Zuoyan, from the past until now, has always been attacking Gu Huiyan with small fists. We haven't seen each other for more than 3 years. I thought you had become mature now, but you are still very childish after being in trouble for a long time. Shang Zuoyan muttered angrily. Are you talking about me? You still haven't given up the habit of violence. You still hit people whenever you say you want to. Gu Huiyan couldn't help but complain. Who are you calling a violent maniac? I just said violence, not the word crazy, right? Does it make a difference? Of course it is. Hey, look, you're doing it again. You deserve to be beaten to death. Don't run, stop. I'm stupid, I won't run. These two started chasing each other in the street. To be honest, there are no paparazzi taking secret photos at this moment. If there were, I would not believe that these two people were Gu Huiyan and Shang Zuoyan. Do you dare to imagine that two big stars with a certain degree of international fame almost came to blows on the streets of Seoul, and then they chased each other? That's too much nonsense, isn't it? Huh. Finally, the two of them were so exhausted that they rested in a shopping mall. Didn't you like sweet things in the past? The coffee just now wasn't sweet to you, was it? Gu Huiyan opened his own cup and took a sip. It was almost the same sweetness, which was quite strange. Shang Zuoyan's eyes were a little dodgeful, but she just said softly, "People's habits will change." Gu Huiyan shrugged and didn't answer any more. As for Shang Zuoyan, it was probably because the light outside was not very bright just now, so she didn't pay much attention to Gu Huiyan's clothes. When she came to the mall and sat down, she almost recognized the clothes around Gu Huiyan's neck at a glance. A scarf, the one I gave him 3 years ago. This made Shang Zuoyan couldn't help but raise the corners of her mouth. She couldn't help but stretched out her jade hand to tug the scarf around Gu Huiyan's neck and asked, "Didn't I give you a black and white pair as a gift? Why are you wearing this?" At that time, she was afraid that Pei Jingshu would think too much, so she gave Gu Huiyan a black and white pair. But this question, she asked it a bit knowingly. "Because I've never worn it before." Gu Huiyan shrugged. Looking at this scarf, he felt a little emotional. He said he didn't know if he wanted to meet Shang Zuoyan, but when he was packing his luggage before coming to Shao'er, he specially brought this scarf with him. He also somewhat admired his hard talking. Shang Zuoyan giggled, looking very proud. She pumped her hand in the bag a few times, but in the end she didn't take out anything. After a short rest, she finally took Gu Huiyan and planned to go to dinner. Gu Huiyan is a foreigner. He doesn't even speak the local language. When he takes the subway, he can't understand the signs. He still uses translation software to take photos and translate them. He even uses translation software to communicate with passers-by. But Shang Zuoyan is obviously a local expert. Along the way, she and Gu Huiyan chattered and introduced. "I told you that there is a restaurant over there that serves delicious cold noodles. Their specialty is cold noodles with spicy sauce. Wow, I was so spicy the first time I went there. Oh, there's a barbecue restaurant over there. Their roasted pork rinds is so delicious. I really recommend you try it if you have time. Hey, there's a good fried rice cake in that market over there. Have you ever tried the spicy fried rice cake here? Ah, this place is really suitable for eating hot pot. I suddenly miss my time in Chongqing. Winter is the best season for eating hot pot." She talks a lot. And not only talking, but also using gestures. As we chatted, we got excited, and somehow I took Gu Huiyan's arm. I obviously didn't do this intentionally because I wanted to feel a sense of distance, but as soon as I talked about it, I accidentally took it. Oops. By the time Shang Zuoyan reacted, she had already held Gu Huiyan's arm. She wanted to let go now, but she felt a little deliberate. At this moment, she wanted to slap herself twice. What was wrong with her brain? Why had it not worked so well in the past 2 years? It is worth mentioning that Gu Huiyan did not pay attention, but asked Shang Zuoyan. "You've been moaning for a long time, so what on earth are we going to eat? Who do you think is moaning?" At that time, Shang Zuoyan's attention was originally on the matter of accidentally holding Gu Huiyan's arm, but Gu Huiyan's words successfully diverted her attention, causing her to angrily drag Gu Huiyan and beat her again. It was probably because of the scuffle that in the end she didn't care much about holding hands or not, and Gu Huiyan didn't let her go anyway. "Don't tell me to eat hot pot." Gu Huiyan couldn't help but smile bitterly. It's best to eat domestic food at home. Then eating Chongqing hot pot after going abroad, let alone whether the taste is authentic or not, is not that big of a deal. Shang Zuoyan smiled, and then hooked her hand at Gu Huiyan. She had manicures on her hands before, and Gu Huiyan remembered this very clearly. Although she was a female star, the color of the manicure on her hands was the same as her hair color. Change it frequently. Now there is no such thing, just normal nails. Gu Huiyan didn't want to linger too much on his nails, but followed Shang Zuoyan's wishes and put his ear to it. I thought Shang Zuoyan was going to whisper something to him. Who knows? After Gu Huiyan came closer, she stretched out her index finger and thumb and pinched Gu Huiyan's ear gently. Hiss! Gu Huiyan screamed in pain. When he recovered, Shang Zuoyan had already let go of him and ran away. At this time, they were walking in a small alley. The architectural style in Bangsa country was actually quite beautiful and layered. There was a street lamp in the box at night. Under the street lamp, the concave and convex figure was swaying against itself. He ran forward with his bag, not forgetting to look back and shout to Gu Huiyan with a giggle. "I'll tell you when I catch up." That scene was inexplicably dreamy. At the right moment, Gu Huiyan felt something cool passing over his face. He looked up and saw snowflakes floating under the street lamp. Snowing. Oh! It's snowing. I don't know if it was because she spoke too much Korean, but Shang Zuoyan's mouth subconsciously pursed a little, which was particularly obvious when she saw the snowflakes. At that moment, she hesitated, and finally took out a pink and white scarf from her bag that was exactly the same as the pink and white scarf around Gu Huiyan's neck. He casually tied it around his neck. At that moment, a kind of sadness hit Gu Huiyan's heart. In the end, he couldn't hold it back and ran over and hugged Shang Zuoyan. Being hugged suddenly, Shang Zuoyan's brain shut down for a moment, but soon, she couldn't help laughing. It's been 3 years. They haven't seen each other for 3 years. Participating in a love show, this little guy is too down to earth. Author, Buletin Shi Xuan Shi Shui Xian. Chapter 393. Snowflakes are floating on the streets of Seoul one by one. Under the street lights, the lights make the snowflakes sparkle. Because there were many streets and alleys, or maybe the place they went to was a little remote, not many people passed by where Gu Huiyan and Shang Zuoyan were. The two of them hugging each other under the streetlight and snowy scene looked a bit like a bloody drama in a Korean drama. Why are you so disgusting? Even though her eyes were a little moist and the tip of her nose was a little sore, Shang Zuoyan still patted Gu Huiyan gently. Even though it was her who was lusting after that embrace just now, it was she who reminded Gu Huiyan in the end. Gu Huiyan didn't speak, maybe because he felt embarrassed. After letting go of Shang Zuoyan, he almost turned his back. Crying. Even if she only caught a glimpse of it for a moment, Shang Zuoyan still saw that Gu Huiyan's eyes were a little wet, which made her suddenly feel a little funny. Ft, cluck. Then she pointed at Gu Huiyan and laughed. She laughed and said, "Why are you, a grown man, crying?" Ha ha. It was quite inexplicable. It was clear that just now they were acting like they were in an idol drama, and then they started laughing. Her business with Zuoyan is always so ridiculous. Gu Huiyan. Aim. This old man also has an angry temper. He doesn't know where he is going to have dinner, so he just turns around and leaves. Hey. I'm just kidding. Oh, I didn't mean to laugh at you. What are you doing? Why are you so angry? Hey, can you have the bearing of a man? Please pay attention to me, you make me so embarrassed. Oh, I was wrong, okay. I swear I'll never laugh at you again, huh. Huh. As for Shang Zuoyan, she was surrounding Gu Huiyan, chirping and coaxing him. Sometimes Shang Zuoyan is helpless, think about Gu Huiyan, how old is he, and now he is a well-known star, why is he still like a child, laughing at him and then getting sulky? So childish. But it seems that it is precisely because of this personality that he is always so special to Shang Zuoyan. Went to a nearby market to buy rice noodles and fried rice cakes. Shang Zuoyan took Gu Huiyan to a small shop where you can eat the local army hot pot. The location is a bit remote and there aren't many people, but there are some of them. A small private room for 2 people, with good privacy. Gu Huiyan may not be that well known locally, but Shang Zuoyan is famous. The paparazzi media here are lower than domestic standards in some aspects. If Shang Zuoyan is photographed having dinner with a strange man late at night, then what? Something is going wrong. Although the location is out of the way, the military pot here is pretty good. After ordering, the waiter brought a pot with various ingredients, such as intestines, noodles, vegetables, etc., put a dollop of sauce in the middle, add water, and boil. While waiting for the pot to start, Shang Zuoyan first took out the fried rice cakes and rice sausages she bought on the road for Gu Huiyan to eat. They all tasted pretty good. After all, her foodie attribute had come back and she was quite good at eating. Gu Huiyan felt that the food brought by the local staff these days is so average compared to this. Gurgling. After a while, the pot is boiling, and you can basically eat it after opening the lid. This army hot pot has a different taste because of the sauce. Otherwise, if you ask Gu Huiyan, is this any different from domestic malatang? Can this also be called hot pot? Chinese people are very particular about eating. When you eat vegetables, you eat vegetables. You have to serve the staple food last. For some people who are very particular, if you throw in a piece of instant noodles for them while making hot pot, do you believe that they can fall out with you on the spot? Shang Zuoyan told Gu Huiyan that she originally wanted to take him to a popular Korean restaurant nearby. The decoration there is very luxurious and can give you a feeling of a chaebol here, especially the waiters. So handsome. However, I think Gu Huiyan might not like that kind of place. I think he still likes some fireworks, which suits him. Moreover, Shang Zuoyan also feels that the taste of these fly restaurants and street snacks hidden in the streets is no worse than those expensive internet celebrity shops. To be honest, she doesn't have that high taste. It turns out that she knows Gu Huiyan quite well. Gu Huiyan really doesn't care about the places where the plutocrats go. However, after listening to Shang Zuoyan's words, Gu Huiyan's focus was somewhat strange. But after listening to Shang Zuoyan's words, he raised his eyebrows slightly and asked, "Then how handsome the waiter can be?" Originally, Shang Zuoyan was in high spirits when she said this. After hearing this, she was immediately stunned. Then she couldn't help but pursed her lips, suppressed a smile, looked at Gu Huiyan strangely, and asked, "Why do I smell vinegar?" Gu Huiyan. Aim. He didn't speak, just looked at Shang Zuoyan. For a moment, he remembered the night after recording Hello Life Partner with Shang Zuoyan. She cried in the car and said that she would never like anyone else but him, and she wanted him to be responsible for this. Now he probably can't shoulder the responsibility, but it always feels a little awkward when she mentions other people of the opposite sex. Shang Zuoyan suppressed her laughter and completely forgot how she coaxed Gu Huiyan on the road before. She continued to speak as if to stimulate Gu Huiyan. "Hey, that guy is so handsome and polite. He only introduces the last dish once, and his voice is nice. Let me tell you, the boys here are all very stylish, and they all know how to dress well. They come in all types. I was recording a variety show some time ago and I met an oppa. He has such a temperament. Bangsa country lacks everything except handsome men and beauties. This is basically recognized by the whole world. You can eat, I have something else to do, so I'm leaving first." Even though he knew that Shang Zuoyan was deliberately irritating him, Gu Huiyan couldn't stand it anymore, picked up the coat he put aside and left. Puff. "I'm home. I'm teasing you, can't you tell?" Shang Zuoyan stood up, grabbed Gu Huiyan's arm and pulled him back forcefully. This old man didn't really want to leave. Shang Zuoyan knew this very well, but she still wouldn't watch Gu Huiyan leave. The man's face was still it needs to be taken care of. Gu Huiyan. Aim. The two chatted happily. Shang Zuoyan ordered 2 bottles of shaku for Gu Huiyan to try. Gu Huiyan took a sip and said with a frown on his face, disgusted on his face, "What the hell is this? Gu Huiyan has traveled to many countries this year and drank a lot of wine. He can basically drink red wine, white wine, and beer. He has also drank sake from island countries, but he has never tasted anything as bad as the soju thing. In fact, the sake of the island country and the shaku of the stick country are basically the product of alcohol mixed with water, but the taste of sake is more like our white wine mixed with water, and it is also quite appetizing, while shaku. Do you know about medical alcohol? It's like that thing mixed with water. Liquor still has a slightly soy sauce aroma, and even if it is diluted with water, it still has a slight taste. So mixing the smell of medical alcohol with water is the same as drinking 84 disinfectant. It's a life-threatening thing. Just this, I dare say it was 15 or 16 degrees Celsius. Gu Huiyan drank it as if he was drinking some kind of drink. If he really got drunk, forget it, just drink it to get tipsy. 3 or 5 bottles will be fine. But the crux of the matter is that this stuff tastes so bad, and it burns your stomach. After a few sips, you won't want to drink anymore. Ha ha. Shang Zuoyan laughed happily when she saw his reaction. She told him that she had the same reaction as Gu Huiyan when she drank this kind of soju for the first time. When she watched Korean dramas in the past, she thought those male actors were drunk because of their high alcohol content. I frowned, but later I found out that it was purely because this was such a bad drink. Last year, she was on the show and talked about the soju here. Her mother happened to be here at that time and brought a bottle of domestic liquor. She simply gave it to an artist friend and took a sip. The artist friend was stunned when he took the first sip, but he said it tasted good. He didn't know how strong this thing was when he drank it for the first time, so he drank a few more sips, and ended up fainting in the bathroom while recording the show. Got it? He said he was going to the bathroom, and wandered around almost falling down. He didn't come back for an hour, and when he was found, he had fallen asleep in the bathroom. It's so funny. That matter has been on the hot search here. Speaking of here, she also had a lot of interesting things to tell Gu Huiyan. Netizens on both sides are always scolding each other. Netizens here often say that some things originated here, and they just have to declare that they are one of the 5 ancient civilizations in the world. Once upon a time, Shang Zuoyan was very good at clarification on the show. For this reason, she was even criticized by netizens here. She chattered a lot, as if she had been having a great time these past few years. Gu Huiyan listened carefully and chimed in from time to time. As a listener, he was quite competent. But one thing Gu Huiyan is more curious about is: I remember there was no news at all the year you first came here. What were you busy with? After she said a few funny things, Gu Huiyan pushed the soju aside, drank a glass of water, and asked casually. After hearing this, Shang Zuoyan was stunned for a moment, and the expression on her doll-like face, which looked young and beautiful with standard Korean makeup, suddenly stiffened. She hesitated as if thinking, her big watery eyes turning left and right. After a moment, she told Gu Huiyan. I'm not busy with anything. I'm just preparing for the album. Some of my teammates haven't practiced enough. As you know, we have a lot of dances to rehearse. Girls in a girl group usually not only sing, but also dance, a combination of singing and dancing, so this reason actually makes sense. Although Gu Huiyan saw something was wrong, he didn't ask any more. Everyone has their own secrets, so it would be unnecessary to get to the bottom of it. In the past, when the two of them met, Shang Zuoyan was always in a bad mood and always crying. At that time, they rarely talked about happy things, and they were always bored because of their relationship. Now, when they meet, they talk about happy things, eat and drink, and are quite happy. Gu Huiyan was not stupid enough to ruin the atmosphere. Shang Zuoyan also changed the topic smartly and talked about some interesting things when she went abroad. A lively and cheerful girl like her always seems to meet some interesting things. Gu Huiyan occasionally talks about her tour this year and filming last year. After all, they are all peers, and they have many common topics. There was snow falling outside, and the two of them were eating hot pot and chatting, which was quite pleasant. Gu Huiyan doesn't like the soju here, but I have to say that although it burns the stomach, it is really warm because of it. When he went out after dinner, Gu Huiyan felt a little hot. It's snowing, it's still falling. Shang Xuan was also a little hot, so she didn't wear the white woolen hat. Gu Huiyan asked her to put it on so as not to catch a cold, but she naughtily took it out and put it on Gu Huiyan's head. Hee, it looks pretty good. Don't tell me, Gu Huiyan has a small head, so wearing a hat like this is really a bit cute. Send it to you. Shang Xuan waved her hand generously and said. I haven't prepared any gifts for you during this meeting. I'll give you this hat. Anyway, I have plenty of hats like this. Ever since Gu Huiyan met Shang Xuan, her clothes have never been the same. She feels that she has much more clothes than Pei Jingshu. Pei Jingshu needs 2 or 3 cloakrooms to fill the clothes. She estimates that every year have to throw away a lot. Clothing trends in Bangsa country are updated faster and more frequently than in China. Thank you. Gu Huiyan rolled his eyes. Wearing a woman's hat always felt awkward. Let's talk about him now. He has a pink scarf around his neck and a white hat on his head. It feels like there are 2 completely different outfits above the neck and below the neck. Okay. You're welcome. Shang Xuan smiled. She probably drank some wine, so she wasn't drunk, but she was a little tipsy. My body has warmed up, and I feel an inexplicable cooling feeling while walking in the cold snowy weather. Shang Xuan was laughing and joking, occasionally grabbing some snow floating in the sky, and occasionally secretly picking up a snowball and throwing it at Gu Huiyan. It is not difficult to see that she is really happy today. On the way back, she passed by the cold noodle shop, barbecue shop, and a green onion pancake shop that she had mentioned before, all of which are quite unique to the food here. After she saw it, she couldn't help but introduce it to Gu Huiyan again, but she felt a little depressed after saying it. He pouted his lips and told Gu Huiyan, saying, You too, if you insist on waiting for me to contact you, it would be great if you contact me earlier, so that I can bring you all to eat. At this point, she raised her eyes and glanced at Gu Huiyan. Their eyes met in mid-air, and she said, I really want to take you to eat them all. Her and Gu Huiyan's tastes are quite compatible. They are not the type who likes light food. She feels that Gu Huiyan, who she likes, will also like it. She likes to eat a lot of things, but she can't eat too much. It's easy to waste what she buys. At those times, she would think that it would be nice if there was Gu Huiyan by her side, just like on the day of Chongqing, when she bought more food than she could eat, she could have thrown it all to Gu Huiyan. But you probably don't have time anymore. She pursed her lips, maybe because she knew they would be separated soon, and felt that the time they met was a bit short, so she was a little sad. Gu Huiyan should be returning to China after his concert tomorrow. They met once after 3 years, and they only met for a few hours, less than half a day. Although she had tried her best to tell Gu Huiyan about the interesting things that had happened in the past few years to Gu Huiyan in these few hours, she still felt that it was not enough because so many things had happened in the past 3 years that she could not even think about it for a moment. It would take several days to stop talking. In the past 2 years, her mind has been a little weird, and sometimes she can't remember many things. She was even thinking about it at the beginning, if there was anything else she wanted to tell Gu Huiyan. All in all, I'm still quite reluctant to give it up. Fine. Gu Huiyan just comforted her and said. Next time. In fact, he can fly over anytime he wants. The 2 countries are not far apart, so he can come anytime he wants. Next time. Shang Xuan pursed her lips and muttered these 2 words, her eyes a little lonely. After a while, she smiled sadly and said, "Next time, God knows when." Even though Gu Huiyan said next time, they all knew that there was really no guarantee when they would have next time. It was only 3 years since we met this time. Gu Huiyan now has his own feelings and career. If he sees her often, he will probably go back to the way he was 3 years ago. That was not what Shang Xuan wanted. She would always remember why she left at that time. Gu Huiyan said no more. The snow is still falling, and I don't know if it will stop tomorrow, but even if it doesn't stop, the concert will not be affected because the venue here is covered. In other words, there is no way to delay it. No matter what, you can't stay for a few more days. He didn't speak, but Shang Xuan didn't want to be silent at all, because she knew very well that they cherished the time they met and they might be separated soon. But I don't know why, but now I suddenly don't know what to say. The atmosphere also became slightly heavier. When we met, and on the way here, we were all happy. Why did he become quiet when he was about to separate? She always didn't want this. Finally. Gu Huiyan. When they reached the corner, there was a bright street light outside. Shang Xuan suddenly stopped, jumped out, stood under the street light, smiled and said to Gu Huiyan, "Actually, I have a question that I've been particularly wanting to ask tonight." "What?" Gu Huiyan looked over strangely. At that time, many questions that Shang Xuan might ask flashed through his mind, asking him how he was doing, asking him if he still liked her. But Shang Xuan just put his hands behind his back, bowed slightly forward, tilted his head, and asked Gu Huiyan with a smile, "Do you miss me?" At that moment, the flying snow was flying randomly in the sky, and some of it fell on her beautiful black hair. The picture was inexplicably disturbing. Once, the imisu in her mouth was no longer "I miss you" but became "I missed you." But now, she just wants to hear Gu Huiyan say, "I miss you." You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Participating in a love show, this little guy is too down to earth. Author, Buletin Shi Swan Shi Shui Xian. Chapter 395. Yes, I have. It can't be said that he is relieved, but Gu Huiyan can now smile and tell Shang Xuan that he misses her. Just saying these 2 words is really simple and not difficult at all. In the dark alley, Gu Huiyan has not walked out yet and is standing in the shadow of the corner. Shang Xuan is standing under the street lamp. Maybe the light of the street lamp is not bright, but it illuminates her hair, face, and even its clothes. At this time, they seem to be in 2 worlds of light and darkness. Light, even in this snowy dark night, seems to have a shape. Real or fake? Shang Xuan pouted her mouth with a look of disbelief. "Of course it's true," Gu Huiyan replied matter-of-factly. "Are you the kind of person who answers so simply and quickly?" Shang Xuan looked suspicious. Although they hadn't seen each other for 3 years, it seemed that there had never been any sense of distance between her and Gu Huiyan. Gu Huiyan regretted not bringing a camera today. If he had a camera, he should be able to take pretty good photos. "How indecisive do I seem to you?" Gu Huiyan couldn't help but roll his eyes. Puff. Shang Xuan lightly covered her red lips with her beautiful hands and giggled. There seemed to be a street with a lot of people in front of her. Shang Xuan's steps never moved much. Even though a lot of snowflakes fell on her body while standing here, she still wasn't in a hurry to leave. He just pulled up the hat on his coat and covered his head to prevent himself from becoming a snowman. As if cherishing this last moment of time. "If you don't want to leave, let's find a place to sit for a while." Gu Huiyan obviously understood her thoughts. Her worries were written all over her face, and her anger and depression were obvious. Shang Xuan feels a little relieved that Gu Huiyan is so understanding. In the past 3 years, This stinky straight man has also changed a lot. Forget it, there are a lot of people nearby, so it won't be good if you get photographed. A hat was given to Gu Huiyan. Without the hat, it would be easier to be recognized if it was just a mask. And Shang Xuan quite enjoys the feeling of walking in the snow. Being exposed to snow is different from being exposed to rain. It won't make you wet after all. Why don't you take me back? I don't live far from here. It takes more than an hour to walk. She pointed to a place with few people and told Gu Huiyan. You don't think it's far enough to walk for more than an hour? Gu Huiyan's mouth twitched. If you walk for an hour, it's about 5 or 6 kilometers. As a person who exercises regularly, how dare you say this is far? Shang Xuan's face was filled with disgust. Okay, listen to you. Gu Huiyan nodded helplessly and walked out of the shadows of the alley obediently. The two of them were walking on the snowy streets. The streets here were actually quite crowded, but it was said that the surveillance system was not very good at catching those who violated the rules, but they were always good at catching smokers. There was some uphill road ahead, and it was a bit slippery when it snowed. Gu Huiyan subconsciously grabbed Shang Xuan's wrist. Careful. Shang Xuan looked back at Gu Huiyan, snickered, and asked Gu Huiyan while walking carefully. I remember you sang me a song when we separated that day, and I only listened to the first half of the song. After hearing this, Gu Huiyan couldn't help but smile and said. It's a shame you still remember. He remembered that Shang Xuan was so impatient at that time that he didn't even let him finish singing. It was obvious that the song was about healing in the first half and the second half, but she didn't want to listen to the second half. It's a pity you didn't bring your guitar. Shang Xuan pouted. It was hard to go back to the hotel with Gu Huiyan now. She didn't have any musical instruments there. Fine. Gu Huiyan was very considerate and took out his mobile phone, opening the music software and saying. I have the accompaniment on my phone. Really? Shang Xuan's eyes lit up and she said. Gu Huiyan has not released the song Shan Shan for more than 3 years. She thought Gu Huiyan had forgotten this song. It doesn't seem to be the case. It's quite important for him to take this song. Dong dong. After a while, the accompaniment sounded. It was already very late at this time. Walking on this street where there were not many people, you could occasionally see 1 or 2 people. Even so, it was not appropriate to sing loudly. Fortunately, Shang Xuan had a Bluetooth headset. Give you one. She took out 2 Bluetooth headphones from the headphone compartment wrapped in pink silicone leather, handed one to Gu Huiyan, and put one on herself. Shang Xuan was just about to help Gu Huiyan connect the Bluetooth of his phone when she discovered. The sound of successful connection came from the earphones. At that moment, she was slightly stunned because her mobile phone's Bluetooth had been turned off. In other words, Gu Huiyan's phone automatically connected to her Bluetooth. This is not a rare thing. After all, when she was in Chongqing 3 years ago, she used Gu Huiyan's cell phone to make a call that night when her phone ran out of battery. But it's been 3 years. He hasn't changed his mobile phone in 3 years? You want to live a better life. People who don't know better would think you are poor. Why haven't you changed your mobile phone? She couldn't help but complain about Gu Huiyan. Although I know that he is taking the down-to-earth route, he can't use one hand for 3 years. 3 years. She has changed 5 or 6 times. Basically, she buys new models that look interesting. She always spends money lavishly. After all, no matter what period she is in, even when the domestic entertainment network is criticizing her, she has never been short of money. Gu Huiyan has become so popular in the past few years, don't tell me that your kid doesn't even have the money to change to someone far ahead. Faced with these words, Gu Huiyan just shrugged and said calmly. I don't play games anymore, so it's fine if I can use it. If I change it, I have to transfer the data, which is really troublesome. Gu Huiyan, a Libra, is a little afraid of trouble, and more than that, there is another thing. He is a bit nostalgic. Humph. Pei Jingshu is just incompetent. Shang Zuoyan pursed her lips and accused Pei Jingshu unceremoniously. Then I bought my boyfriend's cell phone as a gift because it was old. Do I still need someone to teach me? Really? She is also quite busy. Gu Huiyan did not forget to defend Pei Jingshu a few words. Seeing him like this, Shang Zuoyan suddenly asked funnily. Don't you two rarely give each other gifts? Gu Huiyan didn't know how to answer for a while. I really guessed it right. Shang Zuoyan suddenly felt a little proud. Gu Huiyan thought she was going to say bad things about Pei Jingshu again, but who knew she actually giggled and said. It's true that you, a boy, just give gifts to girls when you have nothing to do. After you give them, they don't think of returning gifts. What she said made people feel a little distressed. She seemed very relaxed, but there was a hint of sadness deep in her eyes. Gu Huiyan smiled helplessly and did not answer the call. After the Bluetooth connection of his headphones was completed, he played the accompaniment of Shan Shan and sang while walking. That was Shan Shan that they were too impatient to listen to 3 years ago. 3 years ago, Shang Zuoyan always didn't like this kind of songs. She remembers that she was in the city where Gu Huiyan lived during the Chinese New Year. She listened to the name engraved in my heart in a taxi when she was secretly leaving. She cried. Just like a tearful person. Also because she didn't like listening to such songs, she didn't even let Gu Huiyan finish singing the second half of Shan Shan, which was clearly written for her. In the past few years, when she occasionally thought about this incident, she would actually regret it a little, because if she didn't listen at the time, she might not have the chance later. Listening to Gu Huiyan singing, I don't know why, it's easy to think of the past. Shan Shan, let's put down the phone. Let it be left out tonight. Admit it, we have not lived. What social networks look like. The more lively you are, the sadder it is, right? The more free and easy you are, the harder it is to let go. As an adult, emotions are always expressed in the opposite direction. You can cry if you want, and always smile tomorrow. Shang Zuoyan felt a little honored at this moment. After all, Gu Huiyan now, but even a star with an attendance rate of more than 99% for overseas tours, was singing for her alone at this time. How could he not be honored? It had been snowing for a while, and it had already started to snow when Gu Huiyan and the others went to eat. It was raining heavily. After a few hours, a thick layer of snow had accumulated on the street. When you walk on it with your shoes on, you can hear the creak sound. At this time, there were many sounds in their ears, the sound of wind, the sound of stepping on the snow. But what matters more is Gu Huiyan's singing. Shang Zuoyan's pair of headphones was divided into two, the left ear for herself and the right ear for Gu Huiyan. One ear of each ear played the accompaniment, and the other ear heard Gu Huiyan's voice. The feeling of the sound of snow, wind, and music coming together is really amazing. If you feel tired while walking, stop. If you are busy and lost, just be quiet for a while. A prosperous building will never collapse. Everyone will have a home with 3 meals and 1 night's sleep. As Gu Huiyan said, in the first half of this song, the knife stabbed Shang Zuoyan's chest one by one. The stabbing made her flesh hurt and her heart ached. In the second half, it seems to be healing the pain. A slap and a sweet date make the sweet date appear even sweeter. For a moment, Shang Zuoyan thought, if she had listened to the second half of the song, would it be possible that she would not have left? Who knows? Love, love, there is always someone to teach us to grow up. Thinking about it, happiness is always better than sadness. The flower called happiness blooms late, and the one who planted it learned through humility. Powerful. Gu Huiyan walked beside Shang Zuoyan, his hands kicking into the pockets of his down jacket. He always seemed to like this action, so his hands were always warm in winter. Shang Zuoyan's hand was cold. Don't ask how Gu Huiyan knew, because she quietly put her hand into Gu Huiyan's pocket, as if to keep warm. The snowflakes fluttering under the reflection of the street lights are inexplicably romantic, and they are singing while walking, which really looks like the scenes in Korean dramas. At this time, Shang Zuoyan couldn't help but think about what would have happened if she hadn't left at that time. Will there be a future with Gu Huiyan? Uncertain. But judging from his attitude towards her at that time, the story would definitely not end like that. But no matter what, if she stayed, the so-called future would not be what she wanted. And what she wants may not be given to her by Gu Huiyan in this life. At that time, she said on Hello Life Partner that she doesn't want to be a star anymore, and she still thinks so even now. If they are not celebrities or public figures, then even if Gu Huiyan breaks up with Pei Jingshu and gets together with Shang Zuoyan again, there will be no big consequences. It is just a personal relationship issue and no one will blame them. Unfortunately, there is no if. The current result is really the best result. She made Gu Huiyan become an irresponsible person, took all the responsibilities on her own, ended everything, and gained 3 years of stability for all of them. Without her, Gu Huiyan's life is really good, his career and relationship are both rising sharply. She is indeed using her actual actions to vividly interpret the signature sentence in her circle of friends. Everything, as long as you feel it's worth it. Shan Shan, have you slept well recently? After listening to this song, go to sleep. Two people holding hands, singing and walking. When we walked to Shang Zuoyan's residence, it was almost 11 o'clock in the evening. The location she lives in is not too remote. It is a single-family house on a small hill. The view and lighting are good. From the floor-to-ceiling windows upstairs, you can probably even see the sunrise and sunset. In Seoul, a place with a lot of land and a lot of money, there is even a garage, just like the places where the chaebols lived when Gu Huiyan used to watch Korean dramas. After all, he is considered an internationally renowned big-name artist, and his food, accommodation, and transportation are not far behind. I haven't been back at this time for a long time. Shang Zuoyan smiled bitterly, and Gu Huiyan was a little surprised after hearing this. As an artist, how could she not come back to this point in a long time? But he didn't ask any more questions, he just took out 2 tickets from his pocket and handed them to Shang Zuoyan. These 2 tickets must be for his concert in Seoul tomorrow. 3 years ago, Shang Zuoyan left on the eve of his first concert and missed his first solo concert. Give her the reserved tickets were also given to her 3 domestic teammates at the time. Now, after arriving in Seoul and meeting her in person, Gu Huiyan had no reason not to invite her to a concert. Oh, I forgot. Shang Zuoyan couldn't help but smile, and then accepted the ticket from Gu Huiyan without any hesitation. Come on tomorrow, I'll be watching you from the audience. She just happened to have some free time recently. It was the end of the year. After a busy year, she either went home to celebrate the new year or brought her family over. In short, she still had to celebrate the traditional Chinese festivals. The family is reunited. Ding dong ding dong. At this time, Gu Huiyan's cell phone rang. It's very late. Although tomorrow's concert is in the evening, there is no room for mistakes. Gu Huiyan went out alone and hadn't reported to the staff why he was going. Someone will definitely come looking for him. Gu Huiyan took a look and replied with a few words, saying he would go back soon. Shang Zuoyan, who noticed this, seemed to be slightly relieved. The news came just in time, and it saved her the time to find reasons not to let Gu Huiyan sit up. Okay, I won't invite you to sit up. It's very late. Go back early. She faced Gu Huiyan, and at the moment of separation, she was not as relaxed as she thought. Gu Huiyan was not sure whether to meet her or not. In fact, Part of the reason was because he was afraid of seeing her again, parting again, and being sad again. Call. Gu Huiyan took a deep breath, then stepped forward and hugged Shang Zuoyan. He is tall, so when he hugs Shang Zuoyan, he hugs him just below his shoulders. Shang Zuoyan can just raise her hands to wrap around his abdomen. She still smells so good, not only the smell of perfume, but also the inexplicable smell of milk. It is not only Pei Jingshu who has matured in the past 3 years, she has also matured a little, and even the two brothers Xiong Dakshan have the physiques. Variety. Gone. After hugging each other, it was time to say goodbye. Gu Huiyan looked free and easy. He waved his hands and left without looking back. He was pretending to be cool. Speaking of which, their meeting and separation never seemed very romantic, not like scenes from idol dramas. For example, when they met, he hooked Shang Zuoyan's neck and pinched her so hard that she almost couldn't breathe, or when he left, he waved his hand and left. It was a downhill slope. There was not much snow here for some reason, so Gu Huiyan walked quite smoothly. Hey, Gu Huiyan. It was Shang Zuoyan, who called Gu Huiyan from behind. When Gu Huiyan looked back, he had already walked some distance on the downhill road, so his position was a little low at this time, while Shang Zuoyan was high. What? Gu Huiyan thought she was going to invite him to sit there. However, Shang Zuoyan just grinned a few times and then said, I have a few words to say to you. Gu Huiyan gave her a confused look. The snow is getting smaller and smaller. Shang Zuoyan took off her hat, and there were some white snowflakes on her black hair, which matched the scarf around her neck quite well. Perhaps because of reluctance, her big watery eyes flashed a bit, but her pretty, doll-like face was full of smiles. Call. But Shang Zuoyan took a deep breath, then smiled as hard as he could and said, Gu Huiyan, I have never regretted anything that happened between us, even though we may not be able to be together anymore, even though you may never be able to give me what I want, but I still want you to have a good life. Very good. There were not many gorgeous words in her language, but it was full of sincerity. For example, she shouted the word very good twice. At this moment, she reminded Gu Huiyan of the passionate and sincere girl who confessed her love to him with the red loudspeaker when Crystal Love season ended in Yunnan. These years, I have been through so many things. Everyone felt that she should have become a different person. But, she never changed. Even if they no longer have each other in their world, they will still have a good life. Participating in a love show, this little guy is too down to earth. Author, Buletin Shi Swan Shi Shui Xian. Chapter 396. Say goodbye. Gu Huiyan stood in front of the street light on the downhill road. Even though he has experienced hundreds of stages now, Gu Huiyan still can't find the lights and camera positions. His camera sense has never been very good. Shang Zuoyan once complained several times. Before leaving, maybe he didn't want to be more sensational, so Gu Huiyan just said, It feels like 3 years ago, we didn't have a more formal goodbye. On that morning in Chongqing 3 years ago, Shang Zuoyan got up and packed her things and left. It was very early and Gu Huiyan had no idea about it. He usually sleeps relatively lightly, and is easily awakened by the slightest movement. It is not difficult to imagine that Shang Zuoyan must have gotten up and tidied up very carefully that day. He probably didn't set the alarm clock, maybe he didn't sleep all night. Although they knew she was leaving that day, they still said goodbye without saying goodbye. Gu Huiyan clearly said it was for her before going to Chongqing. Letting her go on her own is still a small regret for Gu Huiyan. Shang Zuoyan pursed her lips and smiled. Her jade hands were in the sleeves of her down jacket. She was no longer afraid of the cold, so she stretched them out and waved to Gu Huiyan and said, See you later. Although she knew very well that they might rarely see each other in the future, and it was estimated that Gu Huiyan and Pei Jingshu were about to get married, She still had some hope that they would meet again in the future. "See you later." Gu Huiyan smiled, and then the two of them turned around in unison and walked in their respective directions. After walking a few steps, Shang Zuoyan couldn't help but look back at Gu Huiyan, but all she could see was Gu Huiyan's figure fading away under the streetlight. At that moment, the tip of her nose was sore, and tears flowed out uncontrollably. But she was always strong. She pouted her mouth stubbornly, wiped her tears, turned her head and walked home. And just when she turned around, Gu Huiyan also looked back. Unfortunately, what he saw was just her retreating back. The assistant's car picked up Gu Huiyan at the intersection. He excused himself by saying that he was out for fun and got lost. Fortunately, he was able to find his location. After all, nothing happened. When we got back to the hotel, it was already late at night. Shang Zuoyan was quite close, and he arrived home within 3 to 5 minutes after they separated. It was very late, almost 12 o'clock, and all the lights in the house were turned off, so she didn't bother anyone. Shang Zuoyan took a hot bath and went to bed in the middle of the night. But when she turned on her phone, she found that Gu Huiyan had sent a file. A hint of surprise flashed across her pretty, doll-like face. She obviously didn't expect Gu Huiyan to send him a document. What is it then? She opened it and saw that there were many songs densely packed inside. There are some in Mandarin, but most of them are songs in English and Korean. Oh! Shang Zuoyan couldn't help but widen her eyes after seeing it. She was a little surprised. Maybe it was because Gu Huiyan had always written works in Mandarin. He always said Chinese songs are the most awesome wherever he went, so even Shang Zuoyan thought he can't write foreign language works. Fans and netizens think so too. But who would have thought? He actually wrote so much. Shang Zuoyan took a quick look and saw that there must be 20 or 30 songs like this, which would be enough for 2 albums. Moreover, the quality of each song is quite good, and many of them are suitable for her to sing. They are the kind of works that can be widely praised even in foreign music markets. For a moment, Shang Zuoyan was stunned, and suddenly thought of something, that is. In recent years, Gu Huiyan has fewer and fewer new songs and only one new album. Is it because he concentrates all his energy on writing these songs for her? In fact, her guess was quite right. Gu Huiyan actually had a lot of system points, and later the system became more generous. The system points given each time were enough to exchange for 1 or 2 songs. So in fact, even if I wrote songs for some of the company's contracted artists in the past few years and produced a solo album for Pei Jingshu, it would not be hollowed out. The reason why there is only one new album and 4 or 5 new songs every 3 years is actually nothing more than more points to redeem these songs. How does it feel? He still owes Shang Zuoyan something. If you can't make up for it emotionally, make up for it in other ways. Many works should have been presented to Shang Zuoyan 2 years ago, but of course it is not too late now. Shang Zuoyan was quite moved when she realized this. She probably had insomnia that night. Fortunately, Gu Huiyan's concert was at 8 o'clock in the evening the next day, so she caught up on her sleep in the morning and didn't miss the chance to go to the concert. *U0026% UN #at. The stadium at night is bustling with people. After all, this is a stadium in the capital that has also hosted various international sports events, so the venue is quite large. The spectator seats alone can accommodate 60,000 to 70,000 spectators. Including the infield, it is said that it can accommodate 100,000 people. That's a bit exaggerated. After all, the stage construction also needs to be taken into consideration. It would be good if it can accommodate more than 90,000 people. There seem to be a lot of international students from China coming here, and tickets for Gu Huiyan's tour are in hot demand. Today is without exception another day with full attendance. The crowd was bustling. Before the concert started, when I entered the venue, It was densely packed with people. It was always crowded. Fortunately, with the guidance of the staff, things were relatively orderly. Many locals who came with friends and didn't know Gu Huiyan very well were actually a little shocked, because even in their country of Bangzi, there were only a handful of artists who could hold a concert in such a stadium and fill the seats. But after they watched a few Gu Huiyan's performances, they felt that he was indeed worthy of having so many people come for him. Maybe it was because it was the last show of the overseas tour, and I went back to China to celebrate the new year after the performance. This show was quite exciting, and Gu Huiyan worked very hard. Basically, he sang all the more popular works in the 3 albums. What surprised the audience was, during midfield, Gu Huiyan rubbed his hands and said to everyone, "Let's sing a song today that seems to have never been sung live." These words just came out. Oh! Many people at the scene shouted wildly. Someone in the crowd was already shouting, "Signal! It must be code. Ah, code. That's right." After a year of domestic touring and a year of overseas touring, plus various music festivals and activities during the period, the only song that Gu Huiyan has rarely sung live is probably the song Code. He seems to be a bit shy about this song. At one concert, the audience asked for a song but he turned it down. Later, some people saw the clues and guessed that it was because of Shang Xuoyan. In the days that followed, it was no longer a secret that the song was not about Pei Jingshu, but who made it happen. Everyone would not find out. If you don't let go of the past, it means you understand that. Arrive in Seoul today. Everyone knows that Shang Xuoyan is here. Singing Code has become the best stage effect. He hasn't even started singing yet, but the audience is already booing in disbelief. Woo-oh! And when the very recognizable and iconic violin music spreads through the live sound to every audience's ears. Ah! The scene immediately became excited. He sang Code. It's been 3 years since he sang Code for the first time. A very cheerful melody and a very relaxed rhythm, just like the vocal music played in the headphones that everyone used to play singles on loop. At that moment, he sang and everyone sang along. What I want to do, you can do better than anyone else. I know everything you want to say and what you want to give. Missed call, no message, it must be that you are lonely and missing. No one can guess that this is our secret code. Every densely packed fluorescent stick is waving, and every pair of hot eyes seems to drive away the cold winter in Seoul. Shang Xuoyan, who was in the front row of the infield, naturally couldn't help laughing. She is still. It was my first time to come to Gu Huiyan's concert. They guess, just guess, it's not important. Only when we connect each other's signals can we have something to rely on. There are too many people, too many things, roaring between us. There is too much noise and the signal is weak, even the wind will interfere. But you don't want to, keep walking in the dark underground tunnel. I want to blow in the wind, I want to be free, I want to hold hands together. Go see the sea and wander around the world. 3 years later, this is the first time Gu Huiyan has sung this song live after recording it in the studio. Maybe it's because I just met Shang Xuoyan yesterday, or maybe it's because I know she's there and singing to her live will feel very different. So Gu Huiyan sang very hard. He had obviously started touring for another year, and his voice was already very tired by the last stop. But at this time, he sang very well and could infect everyone. In previous concerts, he always sat in front of the piano. He would no longer hold a guitar or other musical instruments. But this time, he was a person with a microphone, waving his hand, leading everyone to sing a chorus. I'm afraid of you. My heart is broken and there is no one to help you wipe away your tears. Don't worry about that. As long as it feels right for us. I'm afraid of you. My heart is broken and there is no one to help you wipe away your tears. Don't leave your side. With you and my world would be perfect. The feeling that code brings to everyone, including Shang Zhuoyan, will always be the most profound. In Shang Zhuoyan's case, it will definitely be more interesting than Shan Shan. To be honest, if Gu Huiyan sang code instead of Shan Shan on the last night of Chongqing, she might have stayed because of this. She had no doubt that this song was so lethal. Of course, the most lethal weapon is never the song, but the person singing on the stage. You said you wanted to run away and let go. Love is so tiring that I can't love freely. Because I can't afford you the simplest promise. When I sang the bridge line, I don't know if it was because I sang it too high, but Gu Huiyan's voice broke a little later. But who made the atmosphere so good at this time? Even if the sound is broken, it is just a way to let the emotions overflow. Ah! Many people at the scene had goosebumps. In fact, as long as the song code is included, this performance would be worth it. Of course, they would definitely make a fuss about it afterwards. After all, this was Gu Huiyan's first performance after releasing the song code. Not only did it give me goosebumps, many people were a little moved to tears by the song. Shang Zhuoyan in the audience also had tears in her eyes. Others may have heard their stories and feel a little emotional when they relate to them. And she is the heroine of this song. She always didn't like listening to those bitter love songs, but this code was performed with a rhythmic and cheerful melody, which made her hate it no matter what. After singing code, the atmosphere at the scene was quite good. In fact, Gu Huiyan was quite content with this trip. He met Shang Zhuoyan, sang Shan Shan, and also sang code. But how to put it? I always feel like there's nothing new. So, next, Gu Huiyan plans to do something new. Hey, haven't I had a new song for you for a long time? After singing code, Gu Huiyan returned to the piano and asked with a smile. At that time, the big screen was full of his face that was holding back a smile. Puff. At that time, the audience burst into laughter, and then someone shouted. You still have some ideas in mind. How many times have you cheated on us? Okay, just tell me how to draw the cake this time, and I'll just watch. Maybe it's because Gu Huiyan has been tricked too many times in the past few years, and no one is willing to eat the pie he painted. Even when the words new song are mentioned now, many viewers are far less excited than they were in previous years. But who knew? Gu Huiyan immediately said. Sing a new song today. His tone was quite sonorous and powerful, which was quite refreshing to hear. Oh! Although at first there were all kinds of voices opposing the pie drawing, many people still started to boo. Gu Huiyan didn't explain anything, just said. This song is called Say Good Not to Cry. Let's use it as the prelude to next year's new album. There will definitely be a new album next year, believe me. Alas. There are many people in the audience who are fine with listening to the new songs, but they are determined to eat the big cake. Haha, come on. Gu Huiyan laughed and didn't care, and looked at the band teacher. Since it was discussed in advance yesterday, the lighting and stage coordination for Say Good or Not to Cry would be very good. When the scene gradually became quiet, Gu Huiyan's hands followed the playing of the keys, accurately transmitting each note to the ears of every audience through the microphone and speakers. Ding ding, dong dong. Crisp and moving. It has some sense of story attached to it. It gives people an inexplicable aftertaste feeling. Oh! Many people showed anticipation expressions. Gu Huiyan hasn't written a new song for a long time, especially this year. There won't be any in the second half of the year. He can even say nonsense like I'm just playing. Recently, he doesn't want to be shy anymore. Many people say that he has exhausted his talents. However, he is always able to directly shatter similar rumors when the prelude of each new song sounds. Without contact, I spent the rest of my life listening to what others said. Tell me what's wrong with you, tell me how you live, and I'm the one who can't let go. When there are many people, just stay in the corner. I'm just afraid that others will ask me. Say what's wrong with you, you lowered your head and protected me without even complaining. Perhaps from the perspective of others, this song tells a step-by-step story. Because I was prepared in advance, there were some clips from the song MV on the background of the big screen. But whether it was Gu Huiyan or Shang Zuoyan, who was wearing a mask to cover her face in the audience, when singing or listening to this song, some fragments about them would flash through their minds. In the past, Shang Zuoyan always couldn't let go and wanted to be with Gu Huiyan no matter what. Later, she left, but it was Gu Huiyan who couldn't let go. I started to avoid phone calls and never told me that I didn't like living alone. After you leave me, you want me to live a good life, and you are afraid of disturbing me who want to be free. At this time, you still care about this. What do others think of me? I tried my best to explain that it's not my fault, it was you who had to leave. Whether it was the last time they met in Chongqing 3 years ago or the last time they met in Seoul yesterday, although Shang Zuoyan didn't say it, her words and deeds all wanted to tell Gu Huiyan that everything was not his fault, it was just she wants to go like this. Listening to this song, it is easy to think of those 2 days in Chongqing. It was already that time, but she still cared about how others looked after Gu Huiyan. It is precisely because I care that I choose to leave. Seeing, looking at you makes me sad. I didn't say anything to save him. You'll smile and let go. Say that you won't cry and let me go. Shang Zuoyan suddenly understood why she could hear some sense of story in the prelude of Say Good or Not Cry. She couldn't help it, there were indeed too many stories between her and Gu Huiyan. So in fact, Shang Zuoyan never lost. She was very competitive and eventually won, but the price of this victory was somewhat high. You have nothing, but you still cheer for my dream. How long have you been feeling distressed? Still looking for reasons, wait for me. After singing the last few notes, someone noticed that there were tears in Gu Huiyan's eyes on the big screen. Singers still have to move themselves first before they can move others. The hustle and bustle ended. It also snowed tonight. Fortunately, it was not too late for Shang Zuoyan to come home, and her family members were not asleep yet. After hearing the noise, a woman with a kind face walked out of the room. I'm home. She helped Shang Zuoyan hang clothes and asked, is the concert good? Well, it's quite beautiful, very exciting. Shang Zuoyan smiled. The woman was her aunt, who came from China to take care of her. Knowing that she was sensible, her aunt didn't say anything, she just muttered. It's snowing outside. I'm worried. I just wanted to call you. I made some ginger syrup for you. Go drink some. Hurry. Okay, where is Gu Huiyan? Sleep. What time is it now? Don't touch her. If she cries, you don't know how to coax her. That's not your toy. Who has ever used her as a toy?